Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
The supers are not gone, Mr. Incredible. You're still here. You can still do great things. Or you can listen to podcasts. Your choice.
What did she actually say?
Police scanners.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Right.
You
It's
have
perfect.
24 hours to respond.
24 hours to respond. Okay,
And then
sorry.
it blows up,
Here, do
sets
you
off
need
the
to look at it?
sprinklers.
Oh, I just did it. I mean, it's...
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to give me notes?
practicing.
I could do it.
No, I thought you were practicing.
No, we don't practice
A
on this
lot
podcast.
to my performance.
We don't. No.
I thought you were like, what about this one? I'm not paying attention to what's going on.
We at one point recently were asked if we wanted to do a second take of something, and I reacted with complete surprise.
Second
Remember
take?
that? We were like, second take?
What are you talking about?
That's not a thing, is it?
Yeah. I think people think that we act like we edit this podcast less than we do, when in fact we just don't edit this
No,
podcast.
Ben just takes out the most egregious shit and, digression.
Which is literally 5 things that have ever happened.
Well, no, he does more work than
I
that.
don't even
More
know
than
if we're
5.
rolling right now.
We're rolling.
We're rolling.
Okay,
We're
great.
rolling.
That's kind of the
No.
magic. Do you know what I'm
Is
saying?
it?
Is it's like, are we even rolling?
And would it
to be
matter
clear,
if we weren't?
To be clear, we are rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And to be clear, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Downtown Griffin Humes.
Oh, great. I'm David Sims.
And this is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David.
Yes.
We talk about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their career. They're given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes the check's clear, and sometimes they bounce baby Jack. Baby Jack.
Baby Jack.
Sometimes they bounce baby Jack. This is
I love that babysitter character.
Oh, yeah.
Every single little character in this movie.
Yeah, hot take, perfect movie.
Uh-huh.
Hot take, literally no mistakes in this entire film.
Well, we'll see.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
This is hard because The Incredible, to me,
No, I think
are we
it's-
talking about it yet?
let's
The
stir it
Incredibles
up.
to me is damn near perfect. It
Yeah.
is not only one of my favorite Pixar movies, but one of my favorite movies, period, in the world. It is, if I had to sum up what I'm looking for in a movie, it's that. It's the funniest movie. It's the best. I love it.
There's a reason I immediately thought to ask you, because we have spent
There
so many
are
years
some
talking about
things
this.
in my old age that I'm like,
I
well,
think
wait
that's
a
fair.
minute.
I think that's
Interesting.
fair. I think that's
And-
fair. Yeah.
And it's hard for me because I also am an unconditional fan of
Right.
it. And I forgive all of the things that, like, I love The Incredibles so much. I think it's perfect.
Well, like,
But there are
Yeah.
some things that I'm like, okay, but if I had to be a wiener and be
Interesting.
like, in the name of like trying to make myself smarter, I'll look at perfect things and be like, okay, but if I had to find a problem.
I mean, we'll do a wiener corner. We'll
Yeah,
set
we
aside
should
a
have
corner.
a
There's
wiener
gonna be
circle.
some
Be a
wiener
wiener.
moments.
There'll be a wiener circle.
But we should introduce that this is a Brad Bird podcast.
Yeah, it's a main series about the
My-
films of Brad Bird.
Biggest, he's one of my biggest heroes.
Okay.
Were you going
I
to say
can't
Man
say my-
Crush?
What?
Were you gonna say Man Crush?
That
Yeah.
too. But I can't say my biggest because there's like, Jim Henson and things
Right.
like that.
Sure.
Maybe one of your biggest living heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's next levels.
This miniseries is called The Podcastables.
That's right.
And
This is
today,
the title movie.
we're talking about the titular movie, and it's the guarantor, as we like to say
It is. It's his second film.
on this show. It's the one that gives him the check. It's called The Incredibles.
Mhm.
And our guest spoke before she was introduced, which is 3-point shot.
So sorry.
No, that's
what
what
we prefer.
we like. That's the test of character. We see if people innately do it. And if they do, they're good.
Right.
If not,
If they do, they're probably going to be a little more into how this podcast works.
otherwise we throw them right out the studio.
No, otherwise we have just a slightly more awkward episode.
Yeah, correct.
I'm looking up. I'm just IMDbing to keep myself up to date. I should have done that before, but there's some less exciting moments. What? I didn't know that.
What are you looking up exactly?
I'm looking at what he's written and what he's directed.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sure. The
Yeah.
Life of Brad Bird.
Yes.
Batteries
I
Not
wanna-
Included. Is that the one that
Yeah.
got you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course,
That was how he,
Yeah.
that was his first sort of big paying gig.
Because that was supposed to be an episode of Amazing Stories.
right.
Which he worked
That I
on.
also
And then they
know.
expanded it. He worked on that. He wrote a couple of them, and then he directed Family Dog, which was incubated by Tim Burton. That's another weird thing we haven't talked about.
Right.
Family Dog was like Tim Burton designs that they hired Brad Bird to direct. And then it was so successful, they put it in front of a movie.
Right. Right.
And then they turned it into a primetime TV show, but kicked Bird and Burton off of it.
The Incredibles. Can you introduce our guests?
Yes.
Sorry.
No, I'm talking to Griffin Newman.
I know that. But I keep being like, and the other thing.
But here's the thing. When I mess up, our guest apologizes because she's responsible
Yeah.
for
Right.
I am in some ways.
It's all
It's
her
my
fault.
failure as a camp counselor that Griffin has not.
I'm not
introduced me.
housebroken yet.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
Every week it comes in here, poops on the floor.
Well, so, I mean, we got the biggest credit out of the way. My former summer camp counselor.
It is my biggest.
Yeah. But also an amazing comedian and writer for Key and Peele, for Baskets, for High Maintenance, for... Can we say the show you're currently working on, or is that...
What show am I currently working on?
I thought you were working on a show currently.
I'm working on 18 things
Okay.
that don't exist yet.
She's working on 18
Like
things that don't
most
exist yet.
writers, I'm playing house in the world of creating television.
Becky Drysdale is our guest today.
Hello.
Welcome.
So nice to have
Thank you
me here.
so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I like to take credit for creating Griffin.
Yeah, in a lab.
Then you should be dragged before the highest tribunal and
But
held
then
accountable
also,
for your crimes.
also, anytime I do anything wrong, then she kind of uses like the Stitch argument of like, he escaped before I had a chance to work on all the
It's
kinks.
been years.
Anything you like is me.
I will say though that your generation of campers
Yeah.
have all gone on to be like giant stars. It's absolutely insane.
Let's
Who
do,
we got?
Let's do a little
Who
rundown.
we got?
The Flash
okay,
himself,
we got Ezra Miller, we
Right.
got Lola and Elle King and
Right,
Hannah Dunn.
Lola Kirk.
Lola Kirk. Sorry.
Everyone's on Mozart in the Jungle.
Right.
Mozart in the Jungle
Literally
and,
every single person.
Al King, five-time Grammy Award
It's
nominee.
insane.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know El King.
Not to mention, most of us were on that one improv team that you coached in my parents' living room. Like
Was
Hannah,
that-
Ellie, Ezra, and I were all
Right.
in Uncle Dad,
Right.
which was the name of our high school improv troupe where we couldn't get any shows because they were all at bars and we were 15.
Yeah,
Right.
It happens.
Yeah. It's really awesome to see. It's really awesome to watch.
Yeah. But then there's some other people. I mean, people who weren't clown kids, which is what they called the comedy
Yeah.
section of the camp, where all of us were doing stuff.
Yeah.
Lola, not as much. Everyone else. Lola didn't do it all. Hannah, Ellie, Ezra, myself.
We gotta have Lola and Ezra on this show.
Yeah. Lola will be on at some
Yeah, and
point.
Ezra Miller.
It's just about lining up schedules.
I have not spoken to her in a very long time. I would love to see her. But yeah, who else is doing what?
Sadie Dupuis is a big former head of music, is a big indie rock star.
Right. There's
Speedy
stars
Ortiz,
in-
Of Speedy Ortiz.
Wasn't Matt McGorry a Bucks
Right, Matt McGorry from How to Get Away with
Oh, of
Murder
course,
and
yeah.
Orange
the
is the New
Orange
Black.
Orange program.
He's famously woke.
He's
He is
very woke.
famously
woke
woke.
male.
Quite woke.
male. Not afraid to shed a tear.
Right. He sheds
He
the
is
tear.
a safety pin in a t-shirt.
Ezra from Vampire Weekend.
Right.
Oh, caning.
Yeah, we kind of ran the table on Ezra's.
Yeah, seriously.
2000s.
Yeah, is there any other?
I would like to get Ezra Miller on the show.
Pound?
Ezra Pound. We had Ezra Pound. I'd like to get Ezra Miller on the show. Problem is, he's too dang fast. I can't keep him in the studio.
No.
He is-
He's too dang fast, this kid.
Yeah,
problem is he
you have to
turned
slow
into
everything down so that he is in super slow motion.
Right.
an emo cloud.
He
It's a
did.
fantastic
he did.
piece.
Yes, he's an emo clown. Have you
He
seen
turned
that
into
movie?
a cloud of emo.
The Harry Potter movie where
Oh,
Ezra plays
yeah,
an evil
sir.
cloud.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
he's sort of a sad
Of
boy for a
course.
while, and then he's a cloud.
And then he's a
I went
very
to see
sad
that
clown.
movie not knowing he was in it, and I was in the audience and audibly said, "What is happening?"
I mean, I audibly said that too, and I knew he was in it.
Yeah.
It's very
It had the little platypus that ate gold, though. That was cute.
that movie was totally bananas.
We
Sorry, Ezra.
went to this, Becky was a camper and then became a counselor and then was like the counselor to us. And then we went on to become counselors ourselves. There's this very cyclical thing at this camp, but it's a camp where like everyone's like the one weirdest kid from every school goes to this camp and is like, I have arrived.
God, this sounds
Yeah, my people-
insufferable.
It's great.
And I was that kid too.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then eventually you get smoothed out a little bit.
Sure.
You go through your arc. There's
Well-
the clown head thing we talk about where like you come the one summer and think you're like fucking,
Right, isn't it the big fish little pond thing where it's like,
Yeah.
no, yeah, right, you're not just the one weird kid anymore,
Right,
right?
you got-
Like,
totally.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you
time to
gotta
learn
learn
how
to
to
pull
work
it
with
off.
But
others.
I will say
or-
that the clown shop, like, as much as we all as teenagers got a totally disproportionate ego
Yeah.
because we had all been previously destroyed for all of the same things that then made us popular.
Right, and suddenly you're doing like sketch and long form improv, and people are like fawning over you.
I know, and you're like
in
a
like
big
hut.
star.
Yeah,
But I will say that so many people have legit gone on to do actually that for their living. When I was a teenager, I worked with Dave Iserson, who, then went on to work on SNL and Mr. Robot. He just wrote a movie with Kate McKinnon and Mila Kunis. He's still a very good friend of mine.
David Miner was one of your counselors, right?
No,
or was he earlier?
No, he was before me.
Okay.
But David Miner was a clown guy, and he produces literally every television show on TV.
30 Rock and Kimmy Schmidt.
Represents Tina Fey and so forth. So people, there was something built in that didn't make people only obnoxious. There was also this element of no, but I'm really going to do this.
Right, but you need a job at the end of all this.
Yeah, and there was an element, and granted, a lot of these people, myself, Griffin, everyone we know included, came from, pretty supportive families with money and were given the opportunity and support to do those things. But, I'm not going to pretend that it was, that we were it was crazy uphill battle to be supported in our endeavors. But there was an element of no, I understand that this is a real job that is very hard and has a limited success rate.
And the place taught a weird amount of work ethic because it's a very unstructured camp, so you weren't going to succeed unless you actually did the work because there's not any hand-holding.
And we did, in 2 months, we did 2 fully original sketch shows with 60 kids who were all in various places on the autism spectrum.
Right.
And it was hard, and we basically had 12 days to put together an entire sketch show. So it really did I've never worked harder in my life than I did being the head of that shop, ever.
Oh, yeah. It's the hardest job, and it's the most underpaid job. When you actually break down the numbers, you're being paid $1 cent an hour. Truly,
but
that's
it's
how
also the most fulfilling job. It's the best job I've ever had.
But it is one of those things where, when you're a camper and you're I'm weird, I've never had a place where I fit in, and then someone suddenly, shapes you and puts you in a connoisseur context. Yeah. And then you make sense and people are laughing with you for the first time. It changes your life. Totally. And then you get to the other side of the wall and then the job is oh, here are all these fucking kids that don't make sense. How do I make them funny?
I have to make them make sense.
And that becomes the job. How do you make everyone look like they're Bill Hader?
Well, it's also what's so fulfilling about it is this idea of someone did this for me, and so my investment now is to pass that on. It's not for the money, it's not blah, blah, blah. You're deeply, deeply invested in passing on the experience that you had to this new generation of kids. And so, the idea of someone leaving camp and not being oh, I couldn't live without this is your failure.
Right. Becky has a tattoo of the camp logo. I'm going to make such a good transition. You have no idea.
Right.
It's important.
I know. I just don't want to do an ad read without even mentioning the Incredible.
She has a tattoo of the camp logo, and when she would see kids crying, she would go up to them and be I remember being this sad, and I now have this tattooed on my body. I'm going to do anything I can to make you enjoy this, even if you don't want to do sketch comedy.
It's relevant because Andrew Stanton's nephew went to Buck
Really?
Shrek. That's
interesting.
Right.
Well, here's the transition I was going to make.
Oh, mine wasn't great.
It was good. It was good.
Adjacent.
It was good. But this was a thematic story that also ends in me being an idiot, which I know you love and our listeners love. Sarah Rubin, who's now big deal at BuzzFeed.
Sure.
That's right.
Sarah's so great.
That's right. Has 5 billion Twitter followers.
Has to get on this podcast.
She's another West Coast person.
I know.
But she came to the auditions for these shows are all the kids get in the lawn and you just try to do group improv games with them to see who kind of pops a little bit. And Sarah was one of these people who couldn't make eye contact. She looked exactly like Violet Incredible.
Right.
She had straightened hair in front of her face.
Sure.
She'd stare at the ground.
She was tough for animators to work on.
Totally. Right. Yeah. A lot of technical complications.
She disappeared a lot.
Right. She was hiding from the world, and she was super.
She had a side career as an NPR person who read these great stories.
Weirdly knowledgeable about Lincoln.
Yeah, exactly.
But she was throwing out these amazing jokes, and it was one of these kids where I'd see Becky every once in a while going I'm in love with her. That's my kid. I see the diamond there, and I gotta get it out of her. And when the doors closed and we were all trying to assign sketches, because you try to even out talent, you use the metaphor. You were Sarah Rubin is Violet Incredible, and I need to get that hair out of her face so she has the power to fight Omnidroids.
Did I say that?
You said that.
I don't remember a goddamn thing I've ever said, is what I'm learning.
You said that. So then we were Sarah Rubin was our pet project. We were we're gonna at the end of the summer make this girl know that she's awesome, which I think we did.
Yeah,
but
I hope so.
there was like a workshop you did where you put Incredibles on a TV so you could do some other work for 2 hours, and then came out at the end and explained why it was good.
Interesting.
And Sarah was there, and then when it ended, we found this piece of paper with a really good drawing of Violet Incredible, and we all went like, oh, fuck, Sarah Rubin drew that. She knows that she's our Violet. Like, this is perfect. We're going to fucking get the
Turns
hair
out
out of
someone
her
else drew
face.
it.
I totally, like, blew my cool and went to her and was like, Sarah, we saw that drawing that you left behind.
That's so funny.
And she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so this kid, Dennis Moran, left it there. And she
had no promise.
No promise.
No, just kidding.
Oh, wow.
I love the idea of
Dennis.
like, I love the idea of like, and it was this other kid who we hated.
Right.
I'm so glad you remember all this stuff because
Yeah.
I don't remember anything.
But it, like we did, there was like that summer, like symbolically, like we got her hair out of her face, and
Yes.
she became the funniest person in the world.
Yeah, she's great.
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles,
And now The Incredibles.
and now
The Incredibles.
The Incredibles.
2004.
Right. So
Great year.
Sure.
one of the best.
One of the
John
top
Kerry.
2004 moves.
John Kerry lost the election mere weeks later.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
yeah.
else has happened in 2004?
We're warring
Lost.
pretty hard.
I went to
Lost
college.
began to disappoint already.
Yes,
Yeah.
Lost
Yeah.
begins. I go to college. Me.
Humble brag.
I know.
Yeah.
Huge news.
I dropped
You
out
went,
of college.
You went to college
I
in 2004.
began college.
Good Lord.
Wait,
You're all
But
10.
I'm fucking older than him.
David's the only person here who actually made it through college. The three of us all dropped out.
I
know.
have a bachelor's degree. Thank you very much.
I went back and finished.
Oh,
I
okay, okay.
I took some time off.
Okay. Then,
Me too. I'm still technically on a year abroad.
Yeah, I'm on a 10-year leave of absence.
So actually, I, in order to drop out, I had to convince my parents that I was taking a year abroad, like
Yeah,
doing a work
sure.
study, whatever.
Gap year.
Yeah, and I put together this whole curriculum that I was going to do in Chicago, which I knew I was just dropping out and going to Chicago.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm going to spend a year in Chicago and study. And I put together this whole curriculum. It got approved by the school. And so I went to Chicago, grabbed Jordan.
Three-time Academy Award nominee Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
He might be a
three-time
winner at
Academy-
this point. Who
Might be a
knows?
winner at this point.
I fucking
Yeah.
hope so. Better be. But yeah, grabbed Jordan, went to Chicago. I knew I wasn't going back, but according to the school, according
Yeah.
to Sarah Lawrence, I was doing this year abroad. So the next year, I won the housing lottery. I got number 1 in the housing lottery, and I wasn't
damn.
there. I could have picked anywhere I
Any
wanted.
place.
Like, and there are like some amazing places. Like, there's like a tower. There's like a castle tower I could have lived in. And like 3 months later, started getting these notices that were like, are you coming back to school?
Can you pick?
And I was like, no, I'm long gone.
I'm a superstar now.
I'm not just 3 months late.
Yeah. I love that you, like your friend who you like grabbed hands with and like locked eyes and said like, let's do this, let's drop out together and like make it, is Jordan Peele. And my friend I did that with became a drug dealer. Literally like 3 years later, I was like, let's catch up. And I went on a crack selling run with him. I
Oh
didn't
my
realize.
God.
Crack?
Yeah.
He wasn't even like a sort of expensive drug dealer.
It was crack and crack and
crack
cocaine.
and crack cocaine.
Yeah.
It was a high end crack.
Yeah, but I was like, let's catch up. And I showed up and he had a gun and I was like doing crack drop offs with him. That's a story I don't often tell.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I don't know what Jordan's doing on his off time. No, Jordan was, I was like, hey man, I think I'm going to go to Chicago and just like do this Second City thing and just like commit to this improv thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you want to come? And his answer was something along the lines of like, yeah, let me get my stuff. Like there was no, he's so laid back. He still is. But like at the time it wasn't like, well, I got to weigh it was just like, yeah, let me grab my weed and
Can
let's
you give
go.
me 10?
Yeah. I mean, like
Right.
it was so not a conversation.
So this movie, when it comes out, you and
Yeah.
I are
2004.
both like dyed in the wool Pixar people.
So I am too. Come on. I mean, I see him
Becky and I go harder on Pixar than you do.
for sure.
I have the right to
I
say this
do-
because sometimes you say dismissive things.
I
Right.
did
Sometimes I
at
call
some
you a
point.
child.
Yes.
I did at some point have to become conditional about it. Like for a
as have
while,
I.
I was unconditional,
Right.
and
I
then
think-
I was like, okay.
The first 10
At
years were
this point,
unconditional.
Yeah.
even I am still pretty unconditional. Like,
Really?
I don't
Oh,
think.
I would love to have to have some conversations.
Well, 'cause
about
at this
those
point,
things.
the
I also
movies-
think there are a couple that David haven't seen.
Wait, what?
I think there are a couple that you haven't seen.
Which ones do you think I haven't seen?
Have you not seen Cars 3?
I haven't.
I have not seen Cars
3.
3.
Yeah, I've seen
Or
Cars
2.
3. Both very conditional movies.
Yeah, I'm very conditional.
I
about
haven't
it.
seen Monsters University. I essentially
Monsters
haven't
University
seen
is fun.
sequels.
I stand for hard. Yeah.
You stand for hard.
I stand for it hard.
I like
I've
Monsters
seen-
University, and I love one of the things I love about Monsters University is the score, the music, which was done by the March 4th marching band, which is one of my favorite marching. I'm a big marching band fan. But Monsters University worked.
I
Fair
also
enough.
think it's the only smart prequel I have ever seen.
I wasn't
and that
actually
it
trying
uses-
to start Monsters University.
Well, you fucking did.
Yeah.
I think it's the only prequel where it uses the inevitability of the previous movie for narrative tension in an interesting way.
Yes.
I have seen everything else.
Good Dinosaur?
Yeah.
It's more like
So
the
weird.
okay dinosaur.
So
More
weird.
like the bad dinosaur.
More like the trippy acid trip in the middle for no reason for 10 seconds. That's crazy.
More like
that moment.
the corn farming movie.
More like
Reptiles farming corn. Reptiles don't eat corn, do they?
Do
I
you
don't
know?
Maybe they do.
not according to my game Ark Survival.
Do you folks know that The Good Dinosaur, they did one of those classic Pixar, hey, director, we're pushing you off the project, and then didn't hire a new director for a year and a half? And people in like...
So there's that part of the movie where the dinosaurs are just looking around, not knowing where to stand.
corn.
Is this my mark still? No, but literally, like, they would do interviews, other Pixar people, and they'd be like, so who's directing The Good Dinosaur now? And they'd be like, it's kind of just everyone's doing their stuff.
Oh,
and for
Jesus.
the time being, it feels okay.
It was strange. I mean, it was very much it was more a kid's movie than
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
And
I
maybe
didn't hate it. I
No,
didn't, but it was
nice.
very
It's
strange.
the Mad Dinosaur.
It looked nice and it had one
It was like a children's
great
book.
scene.
Yeah.
That was sort of how I felt about The Good Dinosaur.
The tripping scene.
The sticks, where the little
when
boy
he
makes the
when they
sticks to describe the
communicate
loss
what
of his
family is.
family. I
That's
was like, oh, we're
I
getting
know.
somewhere
That's a
here.
classic Pixar.
And then
scene.
it's
Yeah.
like,
The rest of the
movie.
movies.
Anyway,
But you know what I'm talking about? That crazy.
yeah, no,
Yes.
that
It's
shit's
so
good.
insane.
I mean, it's interesting.
And it's fast enough that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What just happened?
But at this point, it's been Toy Story,
It's a miracle.
Bugs
Run.
Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., and Finding Nemo.
Right.
Those are the only Pixar movies that
I
have been
know.
made.
So we're
Right.
so far we're
Things seem
batting
great.
1,000.
Right.
Next
100%.
And
2
pretty
years
much-
from now is Cars. So like that's
Right.
the first
Right.
But almost exclusively every film has outgrossed the previous.
right. Yeah.
It's like A Bug's Life, I think, is a little down from Toy Story.
Sure.
Toy Story 2 outgrosses.
And
then
I will
Monsters,
say,
Inc.
I
Yeah.
will say very firmly that I think A Bug's Life is the most underrated. Pixar
right. I mean,
movie.
at this point, I feel like
That's
people
by
are.
a long
I
shot.
think
That's
that's
a
the
good
key
movie.
to us retaining our friendship is that we will always go hard for A Bug's Life. David's getting
Nerds.
in, and you're arguing you go as hard for Pixar
Well,
as
no,
we
I'm
do.
saying at this point I do.
Sure.
Bugs Life is to me, in terms of storytelling and theme, the tightest marriage of a setting and characters to the themes and morals of the movie. It is the tightest and cleanest. I've learned more about storytelling from A Bug's Life than almost any other thing.
The
except
other
for
thing I've
Battlestar Galactica.
heard you monologue a lot about is how well the designs of every character in A Bug's Life support their characters.
It's bananas.
yeah.
It's total. It's A Bug's Life is like Run, Don't Walk. Revisit,
Seen it in a while.
see it again for the first time.
I want
thing.
to see it.
And it's also, speaking of rules, the tightest set of rules that is
Yeah.
the most aggressively followed set of rules in a universe.
Well, so yes,
And it's like a perfect quest story. It's like a total, line for line Joseph Campbell Star Wars.
Yes,
Like
yes.
it's like this
really
weird
it's
inside
really
Frank
perfect.
Capra movie. Like it's very like hard on its sleeve.
it's
tight.
good.
Yeah.
The very first shot of A Bug's Life when they go into the tree and all the ants are walking in a straight line and the twig falls and they all panic and they have to like make a plan to
Kinda
like get
walk
around,
around.
this leaf or something is the most incredible setup for the thematic ideas of the movie. And I'm very much I fight hard for Bug's Life because I think it's
I
very
agree.
underrated
I
and
think
forgotten.
That's all fair. I think at this time, everyone's like, Pixar's perfect. Bugs Life, like that would be the take, right? At the
There was
time.
still shine on it. It
Bugs
still
Life's good.
did well. But the
It's also
well.
beautiful. It
It's
was like the
gorgeous.
first use of
'Cause
that
that's-
kind of light. And
the
Ants-
translucency through the leaves.
You know,
and everything.
Ants, the movie that kind of stomped Bugs Life a little bit at the time.
didn't stomp it.
Bugs Life outgrossed
People-
it like 3-1.
Yeah,
No, I'm not
Ants was
talking-
like poor man's Bugs Life.
I'm not talking about box office. I'm talking about critical reception, which I think is a real thing. People dismiss Bugs Life as a kids movie, and Ants was this like, oh, it's clever, and Woody Allen's in it.
Like
Then you
Pixar.
have B movie, which
Well,
just
we're not-
knocked
shut
it
up.
out of the
B
park.
movie
I just wanted
is
to make a
is like being insane for an hour and a half.
It is.
I do not understand.
B movie is a good dinosaur like times 10. in
B
terms of
movie
how
is, if
fucking
I'm not
bizarre it is.
mistaken, a romantic comedy between a bee and a woman.
Yes, but also
Then in the
it's
last-
a reparations story
the
about
last
bees
act
trying to get their
becomes a
honey
legal
back.
thriller.
It's
A legal
All right,
thriller.
anyway.
B
They're
is
suing
B
Ray
movie-
Liotta.
Wasn't talking about B
B
movie.
movie is
Just wanted to
insane.
say something about ants,
Good
and then
job,
we got
Ben.
it.
Yeah.
Fucking
He
hell.
says one thing and you caused a war.
Good
Ants-
job, producer
Ants-
Ben.
Oh no.
Ants is a disaster.
Ants
Thanks
is
a
very.
lot, Ben Deucer.
And he's doing this thing.
mean, of
He's
course.
doing his
Ben,
bit now.
poet laureate,
Oh, this is a bit,
tiebreaker,
Becky,
Haas,
where
Mr. Positive,
he's
Mr.
giving
Positive,
me like a million nicknames,
finest film critic.
and then he says them
Thanks
all.
a lot, fuckmaster.
All right, just
Yeah.
get
Good
this over
job
with.
keeping us on track, meat lover,
Okay,
fart detective, peeper,
I'm just doing
birthday Benny,
I'm just
soaking wet
doing my
Benny,
job,
white hot Benny.
You know,
Yeah,
just
Ben's indicating the thing I haven't done that I should be doing at
Just
this
doing my
point.
job.
We haven't even talked about the movie.
David will
Have
get
you used
there.
benzodiazepine?
I just wanted to say about Ants that
Too
it's,
busy graduating to different titles such as producer Ben Kenobi, Kylo Ben, Ben Night Shyamalan,
Ben.
Say Bennything ... Ailey Benz with a dollar
What's the
sign,
Brooks name again?
Warhaz.
Do
Oh
we still not have one?
fuck,
So here's one that Dan
Robo
Daddario
Haas.
suggested.
Yeah,
Haas, do you know?
yeah. Haas, do you know?
That's insane.
B19, the Fennel Maker.
Yeah.
Do you have
Bang.
Hagenhaus?
Hagen Haas.
Now we do.
Now we do.
Jesus.
Hagenhaus?
He's a real vanilla bean.
He's a real vanilla
Um,
bean.
I think Ants it's so visually homogenous, which I know is sort of the
It
point.
looks terrible. That
It
movie.
looks
That
pretty
movie
bad.
looks like
It
4
does.
buttholes.
It's
now.
trying. It really does. It's trying to be like more real about like, well, ants look the same and they have
They have the right number of legs,
right
and
number
they're
of
not
legs,
blue.
and but like it's so like grim to look at it.
yeah,
It's a weird
Ants is
movie.
tough.
yeah.
It's not like the worst movie ever made. It's a weird movie.
It's not the worst movie ever made.
It's a weird movie.
Is the praise it deserves.
But here's the big thing we're talking around.
Also, how
Okay.
dare you?
How
There was,
you?
Wait,
there was
all right, what?
No,
What
not
did
how
I
dare
do?
you. There was this whole period where DreamWorks was just because they
Shitting on
make
Pixar's
they make
lawn.
Yeah,
they make movies faster because they
Right.
don't care about
right.
what Pixar did at the time.
The legend is that,
it was like
yeah,
it was like Nemo, Shark's Tale,
right.
Right.
Bugs Life, Ants.
Right.
Shrek was supposed to be an answer to Monsters Inc.
I can't even talk about Shrek.
We're not going to talk about
I
Shrek,
can't
a
even
movie
talk
that
about
Griffin
Shrek.
saw 3 times on opening weekend.
Shrek made me want to
Another
kill
movie
myself.
another movie that looks like 4 buttholes.
It looks so bad.
Oh, that
I
movie
don't
looks
even
like a
care what it
fucking
looks like.
PlayStation cutscene.
Let me just say this about Shrek quickly.
Sure.
Go ahead.
That the beginning of Shrek, where it was like, what if, oh my God, I'm so mad. What if all the fairy tales took place in the same fairy tale kingdom?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And all the characters from all your favorite fairy tales coexisted in this space. Great. I love it. I'm in. 3 minutes into the movie, they take all of the characters, put them on trucks, and ship them out of the movie, and then introduce characters you don't know and
Right.
tell the story about them.
But the kids love Lord Farquaad.
I mean, Lord Farquaad is kind of the best thing about
But
Shrek.
like, it was like
Come on,
literally you
Griffin.
took the thing that was interesting about this movie
Yeah.
and put it on Holocaust buses and shipped them out.
Yeah. Well, look,
Holocaust bus.
You know, the famous Holocaust buses. I didn't mean that, but like they were like, we'll take the thing that sold this movie
David's losing
idea
it. Yeah.
and
Oh,
drive
boy.
it out of the movie.
Literally.
And then the only good things about the movie are the characters you do know, like the
Yeah.
gingerbread man, Puss in Boots, all that
I
stuff.
think Farquaad's okay. I'm cool with Farquaad.
Whatever.
Let's go.
I think we all agree that movie's overrated.
More like Nightmare Works. But I did love How to Train Your Dragon.
More like Nightmare Works is going to get underrated because Griffin just said ogre-rated, but that was also really good.
I did love How to Train Your Dragon. I will say that.
That's a nice
I love
movie.
it.
I mean, but that's a movie I think they put
But
more
that's
time into.
Lord
I think
Miller.
investment of time matters as well. But yes, you're
Absolutely,
right. Real artists.
absolutely beautiful.
Pixar was on this fucking miracle run, but
Mhm.
I think they were worried because with every successive film they had, the expectations became greater and greater.
Yeah,
that
that's
they-
how I feel about my work.
That's how I feel about this podcast. Literally every episode's been better and more successful.
One day I'm really going to screw
This
the
is
pooch.
after, by the way, airing after an episode where we consistently declared it was the worst episode we'd ever done.
But our biggest hit.
True,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now that people have seen my 2 episodes of High Maintenance, the pressure is
Such good episodes. I mean, I saw the first one at least.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the second
Right,
one.
I only saw the first
They've
one, but it
also
was great.
kept
I'm just
citing-
assuming
But
the
I
second one was pretty good.
What I'm saying is I don't have the kind of pressure on me that Pixar does.
fair enough.
sure.
Fair enough.
Yet.
It's not right.
But they keep citing you in interviews as like Drysdale held us to a higher standard with storytelling this season.
They did?
I've seen them say that at least twice in interviews.
That's extremely flattering.
They're
because
very good
such great
storytellers.
They said she's the
and-
Pixar of people. I made that up.
Well, it also doesn't make sense. So I knew you made it up. We had writers.
It really doesn't make any sense.
It was clearly nonsense because there were writers in that room who are like incredible playwrights and
Right.
people who not from the TV world who are actual storytellers with real skills. So that's very surprising to me, but extremely flattering. It was an incredible room to work in.
Hot take, and I used to write about television for many years.
Yeah.
Now that *Halt and Catch Fire* is done, that's the best show on TV. High Maintenance. It is.
you.
It's the
I'll
only
take
show on
full
TV that
credit.
every week
Full
surprises me. Like,
Wow.
It was.
I love it so much.
an interesting. It was also right after the election during
Right.
the Muslim ban, so it was a really interesting, like going to work every day and being like, how do we
right? How do you distill
talk about
this?
this
Right.
when we know the show's going to come out in a year?
Sure.
And how do we capture this moment that's unprecedented and we have no idea what is going to be going on
what
in
the
a
moment
year.
will be? Right.
So that was really interesting. It was a really nice place to go to work every day and feel like there was a lot of crying
Sure.
and like it was a very safe space and like people. It was nice to be able to go somewhere every day and be like, what the fuck's going on,
I love it.
and process that.
I love the show.
So the legend is that Pixar was in that kind of zone.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were.
They were unbeatable.
But
They were.
Steve Jobs, who still was, running the company as a
much so.
company and was giving sort of advice to the creative heads and going like, here's the lessons I want to impart to you as to how to not make an Apple II.
Yeah, exactly.
You
How to not
know?
fuck up. Right.
Right.
Make a Newton.
Right. And he kept on saying like, you guys can't get comfortable. You have to keep
You keep
yourselves
thinking
on.
the Apple II was the bomb. The Apple II was the success.
Oh,
it was the
true. The
Macintosh that was the
okay.
bomb.
The
It
Apple
doesn't
II
matter.
was
That was the money maker.
yeah.
It's the one that Jobs thinks is like hacky.
Are you saying the honeydew is the money melon?
Exactly. Honeydew is the money melon.
So they decided the story they tell is they saw Monsters Inc., which opened huge,
Sure.
great reviews.
Pete Doctor.
Also amazing.
But
Great
they were
movie.
like,
Pete Doctor's the genius of create the infrastructure of the imaginary
The rules of
world.
the world.
Incredible world builder. Absolutely.
they go, we just had another hit. It's another buddy picture.
right.
We got Nemo on deck.
Sure.
That's another buddy picture.
Right.
We need to shake it up in some way.
Right.
And they knew that Brad Bird was a classmate of most of them.
And also, all
Yeah,
of them
that's
had
right.
their
He was
bite at the
the
apple.
113
Yes.
guy.
Yeah, right.
Right.
All of the original sort of like
They'd all
top tier
made
brain
their
trust
project,
guys had
right.
their own project at this point. They weren't
Right.
doing all hands on deck movies anymore. So they needed another guy in the hopper. They thought he would shake things up, and they brought him in. They essentially had the blank check to do whatever they wanted, and they said, we want to gift it to someone else. And apparently Disney was like super against almost everything.
Interesting.
Really?
Were
I
there
didn't know
other
that.
people, or
They were
was
like,
it just?
Brad Bird's difficult. He
Oh, sure.
pitched it to them.
Well, and also the Iron Giant had lost money,
Had
so
lost
maybe
a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he had a reputation. He had gotten fired off a bunch of things because they were like, this guy's exacting.
Did they remember that they also fired John Lasseter?
Right. but also the story they tell, like I watched I watched this movie twice in preparation for this episode, once with the commentary because I realized I'd never heard the commentary.
Excellent
Oh,
commentary.
interesting.
Excellent commentary.
I don't know if
Isn't
I've
the
done
commentary the one that begins with Brad Bird being like, "This is not an animated film; it's a film." Like he's aggressive, like from
He
second
does that about
one.
halfway through. He says
Okay,
the next
fine.
time someone calls animation a genre, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
I
And you're
agree.
like, I think you will, Brad.
I think it sits outside of the animated
I think
genre
so,
as
too.
well. Same with Wall-E.
It's also it's recorded the morning after either Frank or Ollie has died.
Oh,
His two
interesting.
mentors,
Yeah.
the
the
old
old men,
Disney
yeah.
animators.
Yeah.
But
We're
bef-
at the end there, right?
yeah, they're
before
in
the
old
movies
school.
come
The
out.
old men.
before the movies come out, so they keep on making jokes about like, oh, fuck, I hope this isn't Pixar's first flop. They don't say fuck, but they like keep on joking about like, yeah. But they said, and it sounds like it's about Eisner, that they went in and pitched it, and Eisner or whoever it was, these top Disney executives were like, this is not an animated movie.
Right.
And proceeded to explain to Brad Bird what is or isn't an animated movie.
Sure.
And they were like, you can't do animated films about humans. This is an action movie. They're better in live action.
Right, you're
It doesn't
breaking
have
a lot of the
talking
rules.
animals.
Right, yeah.
Right. They were just like, this is not what does well in animation.
Right.
It's not a musical.
Yeah.
And Brad Bird just sat there silently, and his producer, John Walker, who he had brought in, had been his, like, Iron Giant guy, was like, I was genuinely afraid that Brad was going to lose his mind and get fired in his response.
Postal at Mike Eisner.
Right. And in the greatest moment of restraint I've ever seen him use, he just turned to Lasseter and went, John? Because he kind of knew he had the Lasseter bubble at that point.
Right,
that Pixar was so
Which
proven.
is insane because they said the same thing to Lasseter when he was like, you can do a feature-length computer-generated movie. And they were like, he's mad!
Right.
Kick him out on the street.
But now, 4 years later, they were like, we had to keep on fighting for fucking everything on this movie. And I think they were all a little worried about it.
Sure.
And the marketing was like very goofy.
Very.
Like very pun-based, very fat superhero-based.
Well, right, but it
Well,
had
they
that,
released that little
the teaser where he's putting the belt
that
on.
isn't actually in the movie.
Right.
But
It's kinda
they
funny.
do that a lot
I mean,
in
you know,
Pixar
they
because they're
did
not
it.
done
Right.
with the movie.
Right.
But I mean, I remember that teaser, watching that in a packed house, and it was like fucking Showtime at the Apollo. People were screaming. Like it went over.
It's
well.
amazing.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But then I remember when they cut the trailer together.
And was it their first? I'm sorry. Was it their? It was the first human
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
First human Pixar
100%.
movie.
Yeah.
First
okay.
movie with humans.
Yeah.
Full stop. Ever.
Right.
No.
Well, there are humans in the other movies,
Yeah.
but they're not the mean.
Yes.
Right, and they tend to be creepy, plastic-looking people.
And they even talked
Right.
like that was a big thing. Like humans were always really tough to do in CGI.
Yeah.
And also a
Humans
very
and
tough
hair.
Humans
once,
and hair.
Once they nailed hair,
That's the craziest thing. It's like, this is this huge action movie with all these stakes. And on the commentary, they keep on talking about, like, the most difficult things in this movie were hair,
feathers,
fabric.
Oh, the fabric is
Water?
I could go
Right.
2 hours.
Yeah,
on
they've
the
got a lot of
fabric in
shit.
that movie.
Like, the scene where they're
Nobody
in the
wants
water.
me to, but I could.
Wet hair.
Spin-off episode.
Wet
Right,
hair.
when they
Oh.
land
Yeah,
after
the
the
wet
plane
hair.
crashes and their suits are wet
You
and their
can
hair
see
is
what
wet.
a pain in the ass that
Yeah,
was.
Totally. Well, when they're after that happens, and then they're zipping through, like Elastigirl turns into a boat, and Dash is
Right.
paddling. That his wet hair is blowing in the wind, and it's insane. It's amazing.
They keep on talking about how, like, there were all these shots where they were like, Brad, if we just don't show this, we'll save like a month
right.
and like $50,000. And he was like, no, it has to be in there.
Mhm.
Because I think he knew this was like his last big shot. And he had come with this premise under his arm because he'd been trying to make this movie as a 2D movie for years at different studios.
This I did not.
And
I
just
don't know anything
was
about
like
this.
not going to bend on this. There's like, he was developing this in the 90s, like early 90s at like Turner Animation and stuff.
Okay.
Ding dong. Oh, someone's at the door.
Just let him in, Griffin. Oh, Ben's going for it. Wow, everyone's opening the door at the same time. Hey, what's up?
Looking for stars.
The cable channel?
I'm sure that might be a good
It's
start.
on your dial.
Yeah. Look, I got a skill, okay? I find the next big stars.
Like the cable channel?
Megas, no! I mean, yes,
all
although
right.
I did discover them.
You mean Hollywood stars?
Big
like actors.
Hollywood talent. Big
Okay.
Hollywood talent, okay?
All right.
I'm looking for talent. I've lost some of the more impressive members of my roster.
Uh-oh. Who are you?
Cy Weinstein. It doesn't matter. Weinstein probably was a bad choice of a name. Don't blame me for it. That's, I mean, no relation.
Hey, what's your name?
Cy Weinstein.
He's doubling down on it. Great. Okay.
No relation. I don't have a choice. That's a lineage.
What's your name?
Cy Hershkowitz.
All right. There we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
I resent having to be whitewashed in this way.
All right. So you're on the lookout for stars.
Right.
Where'd your other stars go?
Most of them have died.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, you're an older gentleman. I don't mean to be
Yeah,
rude.
I mean, I had some of the biggest stars of the 90s. Moose.
From Rocky Bullwinkle? Like-
No, the dog from...
from
from
Frasier. Eddie.
Oh, I thought you meant from You Can't Do That on Television.
No, couldn't get him. Couldn't get him.
He
it's
actually
a
horned
girl.
in on your territory in some ways.
Yeah.
No, you mean Moose from like The Artist. No, that was Uggy. Yeah, Moose was the first dog.
I had Uggy as well,
okay,
unfortunately.
okay.
Dearly departed
Yeah,
Uggy.
no, R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
I had, Balto.
He was a cartoon, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, who do you think's doing the voice?
You?
No, Balto.
Was Isn't it Kevin Bacon?
Well, that's what they tell you. They boost up the box office grosses.
Right. Which it certainly did.
Right. Who do you think did all the barking? My guy, Mark Balto. Look, I'm Hollywood's #1 dog talent agent, but the point is, you work, you develop a talent for 5 years, and then they kick the bucket in the dog talent agency.
Okay.
The second they hit cruising altitude, fucking out the door, dead.
So you're telling me you need some kind of a platform, maybe,
Yes,
where you could find the right job candidates
fast
for you.
and en masse.
Every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Something better than just posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it.
I mean, sounds good. Keep on going.
They learn what you're looking for, which sounds like is mostly dog talent.
Particularly now, I want a dog who's good at wearing glasses.
Great. Well, they identify them with people or dogs with the right experience, such as glasses wearing, and they invite you to. They invite these dogs to apply.
Now, here's a fun fact.
Okay.
80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site, but just in one day.
So you could get a glasses wearing dog in 24 hours.
Well, because pilot season, hot project going around right now. They're rebooting Bones, but with dogs.
So you need a dog to play Bones, Dr. Bones?
Yeah, I need a dog who's good at some sort of will they, won't they chemistry.
Well, here's the thing.
With a bone.
But here's the thing. The right candidates, right,
Yeah.
are out there.
Because they're testing tomorrow. I need someone stat.
And ZipRecruiter is how you're going to find them.
That sounds great to me.
All right. Well, right now, Blank Check listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right. For free.
For free.
That's right. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/blank. That's ZipRecruiter.com/blank.
They're not even taking a commission?
ZipRecruiter.com/blank.
Well, that's all I need to hear. I'll leave the promo code blank.
Just remember this.
No.
Just remember this. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Ben's really dragging her out.
That's, as I said, what I'm looking for is a smart dog, or at least a dog that appears to be smart by balancing glasses on the bridge of its nose.
Try ZipRecruiter out for free at ZipRecruiter.com/blank.
All right, now get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Sigh. Hey, Griffin.
Hi, how's it going?
You don't know that guy? I feel like you know everyone in the industry.
He used to represent me.
Yeah, and then he dropped you?
His only human client.
Uh-huh.
Well, we did that.
We did that. God, Becky, it would be so embarrassing if we had to do some dumb improv thing in front of you on this show. Thank God that is not a circumstance
Well,
we
I've
have
clearly been highly coached.
I thought it was great.
Thank you.
Well, all compliments to Cy Hershkowitz, Abelman.
I really had
something.
to. I rarely will shut down one of your bits, but that had to go.
So, The Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
The Incredible. So he makes the pitch to or is it Lasseter recruits him? I mean,
yes.
I know he had this pitch.
Lasseter brings him in, but they still have to pitch to Disney what the film's going to be. Disney doesn't believe it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they're accepting this pitch at a point like when only X-Men has come out. You know,
right? Because it's like 2000, right? Yeah.
You know, they just fought really hard for this movie.
So the country doesn't even know what superheroes are.
They've never heard of them.
Yeah, right. Totally foreign concept. Yeah. The other thing that is interesting is this is like the first Pixar movie that's not written by like a room.
Right.
Like Brad Bird wrote the movie.
Right. Like he came in with his script and a lot of it was reworked. But
well, sure,
but he essentially like entered with a spec that he had been shopping around Hollywood for like 10 years.
Right.
You know? Whereas every other Pixar movie had sort of been like incubated in a collaborative way, and then someone goes off and tries to like make the bones of it mostly themselves. Which I hear is one of the hottest pilots this pilot season, Dog Bones. But
you got to get a talented dog for that. Though.
You got to get a talented dog for that in less than 24 hours. But he makes this movie. Yes. It's fascinating because in the commentary, he keeps on talking about like, yeah, you know what I don't like in superhero movies, and it's like there have been 4 at this point.
Right,
like he's complaining about the like cliches of the genre.
Right.
And there's so few examples, but he was already upending things that we hadn't even gotten tired of yet.
Right. But I mean, you know, there's a long history of
larger
superhero,
lore.
you know, everything else
and
before this generation of superhero movies.
It has this Fantastic Four kind of pitch of
Very
like,
much so.
we're going to take the American family, reflected in these characters.
It's still the one good Fantastic Four movie.
Agreed. Do you know the Miyazaki story?
No.
Miyazaki visited Pixar at this time when he was making Spirited Away, I believe.
Okay.
Like, obviously,
Really?
Yeah, Pixar and Ghibli had, Lasseter and Ghibli had this relationship at that point. Like, Lasseter helped Spirited Away.
I feel like it must have been the movie after that. Well, I don't know.
I thought Spirited Away was before that,
Yeah.
too.
Spirited Away is 2002.
Domestically.
All right, fine. So maybe he's working.
Domestically.
Jesus Christ. I mean, well, maybe he's working on the American release of Spirited Away, which had a dub, had like a very, like Lasseter supervised the American release of that movie.
What, 2-year dubbing process? I don't know.
Maybe it's Hell's Moving. Well, no, it's more. Didn't this movie have like a 4-year production process?
Let's just assume. Oh, it's 2001 too. So.
Oh, it is. Oh, fuck, you're right. Actually, it is. No, it was 2001 in Japan. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He visits, and Bird was like sweating bricks because he respects this guy.
Yeah.
And he shows him some reels, and he says, like, "What do you think? Like, is this just American nonsense?" And Miyazaki was like, "You're doing a very adventurous thing in an American film." Like, sort of like was like, "I'm very impressed with this," and like probably wandered off onto a cloud and vanished or something.
They also it was
turned into a giant baby head and rolled away. He giblied on out of there.
Exactly. Yes, everyone became a river.
Yeah.
It was Pixar's first PG movie, which was more of a leap than people thought it was. And it like almost opens with machine gun fire.
Yeah, it's true. It has guns.
Suicide.
Yeah,
and,
right.
This movie's brutal.
It, like directly.
The suicide is like, whoa. Like, that's a lot of parents having to turn to their
have a
kids and be like,
right.
we'll talk about it
and
later.
he directly says, like, you foiled my suicide attempt.
Yeah.
Right.
He didn't want to be safe.
Right. But you have, like, adults who clearly have a sex life. Like, there are all these, like, complicated things in this movie.
Well,
it's
Holly
a movie
Hunter.
about parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a movie about parents. It's a movie about midlife. It's a movie about losing your sense of of self. I mean, this is not a kid's movie.
It's also
in
not
any way.
paying lip service. It like actually delves into all these things and has long animated discussions with like middle-aged people,
Totally.
weighing like legacy and stuff.
Early middle age. Give him credit.
Okay.
Well, there's like all that stuff with Wallace Shawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like we're talking about the corporate, system.
Right, and like being stuffed into a career too. But it also has Holly Hunter, my point, who just like it's just too grown up to be in a G-rated movie, I think.
I agree.
Holly Hunter's too like mature and interesting.
Too sexy.
Exactly.
Elastigirl's too sexy.
I'm also going
She's
to
fucking
I'm going to
sexy.
throw out a hot take, and I don't say this lightly. I think this is the best vocal performance in any Pixar movie.
What
I
would
think
Holly
Holly Hunter is
Hunter? I mean,
unreal
it's
in this
unreal.
movie.
She's amazing. Who would be like the competitor?
I think Amy in Inside Out is pretty fun.
I think
She's phenomenal.
That's phenomenal and a deceptively difficult performance.
And
Absolutely.
I think Albert Brooks is phenomenal.
I agree.
And subtle. And
That's even
nuanced
more
and-
difficult too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he has to do a lot of whining.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And I obviously love.
I mean, he's Albert Brooks. I mean, he's good.
Yeah,
at it.
I mean, I love that Pixar, at least for a while, was casting people who were
in broadcast news.
very much the right person for the role and not the sexy star.
T. Nelson,
which DreamWorks was the Will Smith,
of course,
right? And the fish looks like Will Smith.
Martin Scorsese, and the fish looks like Martin Scorsese.
I can't even.
But like Disney at this
Woody
point. Disney at this point,
hot to the youngsters.
Yeah, right.
They
but
love
that was
the
literally
Woody Allen.
DreamWorks' model was like take a celebrity whose persona we all know, design a character to look like them, and just play into their bit.
Right.
And Disney and Pixar was like, hey Disney, do you want to give us over $100 million to make a movie starring Coach? Like,
right.
That was.
Who was also great was Rip Torn. He was a great Pixar voice, and Richard Kind. I mean, there are a lot of great ones.
Which one? Why am I blanking on?
Wasn't Rip Torn the guy in Monsters Inc. who was the
James Coburn?
That's James Coburn.
Wait, who was Rip Torn? Was someone?
I think you're right, but Coburn is Waternoose in Monsters Inc.
Rip Torn is one of those guys. Every time I Google him, I'm right. I'm like, yeah, he's not dead. Right.
I know he's not dead.
I've had
It's
my
amazing.
Rip Torn death tweet saved on my phone for literally 9 years now.
Oh, maybe he. Wow, I've never been.
Guess what
so
he is
very
in?
wrong.
Guess what he is in? B movie.
Hercules.
Oh,
Right,
yes,
he's Zeus in
Hercules.
Hercules.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hercules.
Hercules, my boy.
He's so great.
That's my Rip Torn impression.
I thought he was in.
That's what too. That's Coburn is the crab man,
Right?
Bad Crab Boss. I think his official name is Mr. Bad Crab Boss.
I may also be having like brain association with Albert Brooks and Rip Torn because of Defending Your Life, which often
Very
happens
possible
in my brain. But so I'm glad I was wrong about that. I thought I thought Amy Poehler's performance in Inside Out was truly one of I think her best performances. Period.
I think it's a terrific performance.
Yeah, I think
Hunter-
there's some incredible voice moments for a lot of people in Pixar
Hunter is just doing such a thoroughly adult performance in this movie.
movies.
Like, I think she's one of those actors who like finds an unconventional way around every single line reading without sounding like that's the purposeful challenge. Like she's not doing like a Christopher Walken thing where it's like, let me find a weird tempo.
And it was just a really smart choice.
Right. And she's also one of those people who like always reads with a lot of integrity. Like even if it's just a voice on screen, she has so much authority, integrity, gumption.
Well,
but she's also sexy.
And I think that the big thing for both of these characters was they have to be parents.
Right.
And she's trying to be a good mother. And I believe Holly Hunter in that role.
And they have to be grown-ups. Like they can't be like
grown-ups.
cartoon versions of parents. They have to be like they're the main characters. We have to believe them as like complicated adults. So like the movie opens with this documentary opening, which he said he did because he wanted to like purposefully play against expectations of like you always open with the biggest action sequence to like start it off, and instead you start off with like grainy
documentary
like footage. Right.
I love it so much.
I love it too, and the square presentation
and the newsreel.
Right. Well, so then you go from that to Mr. Incredible, like at his glory day, trying to save as many people as he can before he gets to his wedding.
Right, and then the newsreel.
Right. Which like already, there's one moment in this movie that activates a certain kind of like, this is what I want to see out of a superhero movie joy for me. That's still in the 14 years since this came out, I have not seen done again in any of the 40 million superhero films that have been released. It's when Mr. Incredible is like on the rooftop and he sees Frozone all the way in the distance, like
swishing
by,
right.
and they just have this like long distance conversation.
Shouldn't you be getting ready or what?
And
I got time.
Right, especially in this like interconnected superhero universe landscape that we're in. None of the superhero movies have gotten across that vibe of just like casually like, this is just a world where superheroes are just doing shit all the time. Like one superhero saving someone over here, another superhero is 20 blocks away saving someone else, you know?
Yeah.
Like this is just an ecosystem.
Yeah, it's just how. My only question is what's happening after they're all gone? You know what I mean?
Crime is running rampant.
But like crime running rampant is one thing, but like are there like mole people drilling? Like, who deals with the sort of the more outsized issues? Sure. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a thing they delve into, but yeah. So, there is this suicide thing. I mean, I think a thing that Brad Bird is incredibly, incredibly good at, and it translates to his live action movie as well, is like knowing how color can change the mood of a scene. Because this is a movie where like every time period.
You're talking about Tomorrowland?
Tomorrowland, I think it's probably the strongest aspect of Tomorrowland is like the color shifts between the environments. But this is a movie where like when he's going through time periods or different environments, like he's so good at like, this is fun and this is light, and then establishing a new scene where immediately it's like ominous and sort of foreboding. And
which is also true of Batteries Not Included, because you have these very sort of darker, more grim, sort of depressing backdrops, and then these moments of color.
He said that like his thing that he's obsessed with and that he really wanted to capture in this movie is like the fantastic mundane. Like he likes that contrast of, and he was like, when I went into Pixar and I pitched it, I included a couple specific jokes, and usually those pitches you're doing just a larger story arc pitch. But I mentioned the joke of like Mrs. Incredible looking at her butt in the mirror, like some of those things, because I had to hammer home to Disney. Like, no, but the idea is you keep on getting back to how human these characters are in these insane circumstances. And he's really good at those drab shifts where like this like Glory Days section of Mr. Incredible is like super bright, super saturated, hero theme. But like the moment it goes into that like building with Bon Voyage.
Monsieur Incredible!
The best character in the history of cinema.
He's great. He was going to be called Bon Perignon.
Makes me still, after seeing The Incredibles 150 times, I laugh.
It's so funny.
So hard.
The accordion on the soundtrack.
Yes, the music.
I can't, like a giggling baby.
His
like
body language is so...
I love Bon Voyage so much. I can't even.
But that's like the other thing this movie gets to is you feel like, oh, this is just a world where at any given time there are like 80 shitty villains like that running around.
Right.
Whereas like every superhero movie now is like focused on one. Like there's one plot. There are no like sort of like supplemental threats that we're not even considering, you know? And you're like, Bon Voyage is like robbing a bank every night probably, you know?
You're forgetting about Suicide Squad.
Twisted.
We're doing that on purpose.
Well, yeah, you keep bringing up David Ayer movies. You keep pitching Bright on us. Keep pushing Bright.
Yeah,
Same
before we
director.
recorded, Ben kept on pitching Bright to us as if we had to explain to him that Bright's already been made.
But what if it's brighter?
All right, Griffin, can I talk to you for a second?
You can always talk to me. That's the format of this show.
Well, I'm glad that our relationship has a real back and forth.
Yeah, and open boundaries.
I would say that our relationship is a sort of easy and free kind of discourse.
It's a
would you
constant
say?
transfer of ideas and thoughts and words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the WeTransfer simple, easy, free uploading and share process.
Oh,
There's no sign-in. There's no onboarding. There's no complicated file system.
I love. You never make me on board.
I never do. I think that we don't talk about that enough.
That's a
actually.
competitive advantage, actually.
It's WeTransfer. They're just they make the creative process easier for everybody.
Okay, but I'm probably gonna have to I don't know, withstand some ugly wallpapers, right? While I'm on their site.
Excuse me, their wallpapers are beautiful. 30% of them are devoted to showcasing the best art, photography, music, and more from around the world.
Also, I kind of get back to the
They
community.
donate that space to artists, to promote their work.
Yeah.
Anyway, so WeTransfer is great. You can share big files around the world for free. No sign-in, no offer codes, no password to forget. You just upload, you send, and you get back to making what you make.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll get back to make it. I mean, we probably have like 30 seconds left on this ad
Let's just
read,
skip
right?
the rest of this ad and get right back into the podcast. It's WeTransfer.com. You make WeTransfer.
Okay, done. So then we have this like shift where suddenly like Buddy shows up, who's Mr. Incredible's #1 fan.
He's voiced by Jason Lee.
Right?
Brilliantly.
Incrediboy.
Great voice.
And
I'm
does
Incrediboy.
a really good job playing the two ages.
You know what really? Yes, he does. You know what really gets to me about Buddy, especially the teeth. His teeth are all weird, and it freaks me out. I think it's intentionally. He has like kid teeth.
Well, he also intentionally was modeled after Brad Bird.
But how intentionally, right? Because I thought Brad Bird only realized that later, right? Wasn't that something they were kind of sneaking by him?
Yeah, it was intentional on the part of the designers.
No, I'm aware. Right,
He didn't
right.
realize it was him, but they were also terrified of him because he's like so exacting.
The documentary about like the big making of like begins with them being like, there's a 700-pound gorilla in the room and it's Brad Bird, right? Like that's how they describe him. And he's just like sitting there being like, yeah, that's me, like.
There's a clip in that documentary where he's like, and ladies and gentlemen, here's our new director, Brad Bird. Like they're bringing him just to meet all of Pixar. And he's like, I know you guys are sitting back and you're like, yeah, we're Pixar. We're pretty good.
Right.
4 hits in a row. But like, I'm here to tell you, like he was R. Lee Ermey. Like before he even got his staff, I think
he was also very like, you have forgotten what 2D animation is, and I need to remind you. Like he was really, really religious about that.
And he didn't want to go to Pixar because he didn't want to do CGI.
He didn't want to do CGI.
So then when he got in, he was like, I want to do everything I would like to do in 2D that I'm told I can't do in CGI. Right. Because you're Pixar. If like you're on this much of a hot streak, you can support me in doing whatever I want.
Yeah.
But then you hear him talk about it afterwards, and he was like, yeah, I was terrified. I thought I was like ruining the entire thing.
Yeah, he deals with his anxiety in one way. Some people deal with it in other ways.
But I think a thing I really like in this movie is that like Mr. Incredible is a dick to Buddy. Like he is overly harsh and dismissive in a way that it's not just like this is some annoying kid. He gets what's coming for him. But like Mr. Incredible could have stopped this if he were a little more diplomatic.
Well, that's like what happens when you're with the camp counselor who dismisses the kid with the hair in front of her face.
I work alone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they end up going crazy.
Yes.
The question
but this is
how...
where some of my problems start happening.
Okay. All right.
Thing.
Is with the villain.
I think what makes my favorite Pixar movies, especially as a person who's like learning from these things and has learned so much from these things, and actually a great example is in Finding Nemo, where at some point early on in the movie, someone just says what the movie's about out loud in a sentence.
Right.
And in Finding Nemo, that is when Marlin says, I promised him nothing would happen to him. And Dory says, why would you promise him that? If nothing ever happens to him, then nothing will ever happen to him. And it's like every single thing in the movie supports that idea.
Thumbs up.
Isn't that insane? It's amazing. Yeah. And in the same way, in A Bug's Life, the theme is so tight. You know, we're going to explore the idea of marching to the beat of your own drummer in a world where everyone walks in a straight line. So Pixar movies, the good ones, I feel like are very, I keep saying tight because it's the best way I can explain it, but I feel like the best Pixar movies are so clean with the
good word.
Theme versus setting.
There is nothing that doesn't feed into the theme.
Right.
From a design standpoint, a story,
to
dialogue,
me, when I write things, I use that lesson of like,
Right.
if this isn't supporting that statement, it goes.
Yeah.
Because jokes are easy. You can come up with a million jokes. But if this thing is taking me away from that larger mission statement, I can lose it.
So
it
do you
becomes
feel
a
like
really
this
good
movie
editing tool.
veers?
So my issue with The Incredibles is I don't know if it's about if everybody's super, then no one will be.
Right.
Or if it's about everyone is special. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everyone is super, then no one will be is not what the movie's about.
No.
And I don't understand it as Syndrome's motivation. You know what I mean? His motivation is not to make no one super. His motivation is to create a villain that only he can defeat and thereby make himself the greatest superhero ever.
He also says at some point in the movie that his idea is that with his technology, anyone could be a superhero. It's not even just selfishly him wanting to be as powerful. It's him wanting to take the power away from those who were given it from birth.
Yes, but then you have Dash, who on the other side of that coin says something, I'm going to misquote this and I hate myself for it, but something about like, you know, if
everybody's special, then no one is
that what he says?
She says everyone's special, Dash, and he says, which is another way of saying that no one is.
And Syndrome says that in a triumphant way.
Right.
If everyone's special,
yeah,
then no
I
one
guess
will be.
there's something for me, and I'm very, very happy to say that I'm very happy to admit if it's just that I'm not smart enough, because I believe very strongly that the people making these movies are significantly smarter than I am. But there is something about those thematic statements that didn't sew together for me with what the movie ended up being about.
Well, this is like
especially
a movie...
because what it was so much about for me was these middle-aged people trying to recapture their youth and find meaning.
Yeah.
You know, that it didn't. I had an issue with sort of sewing together this idea if everyone is special, then nobody is, as either a motivation. It didn't feel answered to me.
This is a movie that people fight over a lot.
People fight over the motivation of Syndrome.
And what the ideology of the film is.
The political
and Brad Bird.
implications.
Because he gets thrown this accusation of being this kind of Ayn Randian, like, objectivist guy.
This is the movie that is the beginning of that argument, and it is the clearest.
And I want to say that being said, it is still like, like I will stand in front of an army of armed men, to protect this man. I think it's genius and brilliant, whatever. That's my only thing that I'm like, I don't quite understand, because it's said twice, because it's clearly like this thematic statement that I don't see it supported in the way that I do with other Pixar movies.
Well, the other thing with the movie, not to like draw too neat a line, but that I think the main thing this movie comes out of, especially when he's like writing it in the 90s and he can't get like arrested in Hollywood, right?
Right.
There's this long period where he's burned so many bridges as being that guy's too difficult, he's too exacting.
Is that true? I don't know anything about that part of it.
We talked about it.
He got like fired from Disney.
Episode.
He was like the wonderkind, and he got fired from Disney, and because he kept on going into superiors and going like, we should make this better, we should do this the way they used to do it in the 40s. And they'd go like, we don't give a shit. So
getting fired from Disney is a great way of then becoming in charge of Disney.
Right.
I think. Well, okay. So because we went over a lot of that last week.
Right.
I don't know. It's fine. I just don't need Griffin to rehash it.
Right.
It's
but to tie it into this, I think the main thing this movie is coming out of is his frustration with, I'm constantly being told that I shouldn't play to the best of my abilities.
Yes.
He kept on going into environments in which...
It's that of a frustrated artist, right? That's the argument against him being a Randian.
Keep on saying, you don't have to aim for a 10, just do a 2.
But what I think Becky is bringing up is what's syndrome.
Right. So that's where it gets murky.
Because what syndrome is a genius.
Right.
He's undeniably talented.
Yeah.
He's absolutely prepared to be a superhero. Like, once he's a grown-up. Maybe not when he's a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the 0-point energy thing. Like, he could be a right?
Yeah.
He could do this shit. So what's his motivation for doing all of this past go home, buddy, I work alone?
At first, it's, like... There's this, that's why I'm saying there's like these kind of two ideas that I can't reconcile. One is I'm going to create I'm going to create a villain that only I can beat, and then I will be super. That's one thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That even Mr. Incredible can't beat.
Right.
And then I'll be even better than, Mr. Incredible. On the other side, his goal is I'm going to make a situation where everyone can be a superhero.
Right.
Yeah. And
that,
then no one will be.
Yeah, and then that kind of makes me feel like is his motivation to make everyone be able to be a superhero, or is his motivation because there is a moment where he walks away in a very villainous way and says, "Then no one will be."
Right.
So is his motivation to make everyone super, or to eliminate the idea of superhero altogether?
That is the thing that trips people up with this movie, and I think it's fair.
He
wants homogeny,
but
and what does that mean? And why is it
nitpicky? I mean, again,
I guess it is.
My read is that it's both of those things. Like it gets into. I feel like a lot of Brad Bird movies are him externalizing arguments that he has with himself.
Sure.
Right.
But I also think that that those storylines lead me to feel like, oh, this wants to be about a movie about what makes someone super. Is it being a born superhero, or is it making gadgets and stuff that allow you to behave the way a superhero? Like, what truly makes someone super? But that's not what the movie's about either.
No, I think it's
but
a
it's
movie.
so easy to get into that because they're all born with their powers,
right?
And the villain is someone who worked hard,
right? But
it's fucking weird.
And there's a whole thing of I make gadgets and stuff, so everyone can be a superhero,
right?
And that makes me think that the movie is trying to be about something that the movie's not about.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a hard time with, and I'm very obsessed with villains and what motivates villains, and so.
So you must love Suicide Squad. He's got 10 villains.
I actually made the wise choice to not go see Suicide.
Bring on
Squad.
the bad guys.
See Suicide Squad. So that's my sort of nitpicky thematic issue with it that I hate having because I love The Incredibles so much.
Yeah. I think it's fair.
But I think, especially because he was a scorned child, that
Buddy.
Yeah, Buddy. Yeah. That whatever his motivation is should stem from that, which it sort of supposedly does.
Yeah.
But then it's his goal, his mission doesn't quite sew together with the origin story of why he started doing this.
Well, it's like a have and have nots thing where it's this seed of resentment is placed in him because he's told in no uncertain terms, you will never be a superhero.
Yeah. You're not
because you were not born a superhero. Right. It doesn't matter how hard you work, how much you care. There is sort of just a Rio Grande line here that you can't.
It's kind of like a Star thing. It's you either got it or you don't, kid. And,
and
you don't got it.
So then what he wants to do is essentially just tear the entire thing down.
Wipe out all the superheroes.
Right. He wants to become a superhero in a performative way to prove that anyone can be a superhero so that no one will ever be a superhero again.
Sure.
I guess. It's a little convoluted. And it also makes me feel like it should then be, if Mr. Incredible's you'll never be a superhero, superheroes are born, then to me that invites a story of Mr. Incredible learning his lesson and Buddy's redemption, as opposed to Buddy falls down into a lava pit or whatever he ends up. However he ends up dying.
No, he gets fucking shredded by a jet engine.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god.
There definitely there isn't a redemption arc for Buddy. he remains awful until the very last moment, in which he dies like a loser and an idiot. And
True.
And Mr. Incredible,
Well, he opted for the cape.
yeah,
I mean, he's
Mr.
also like a psychopath. He's like
Right.
willing to murder children
Right.
for reasons that are sort of only vaguely understandable.
I also think he's a great villain. I love how
He's a good
playful
villain. He's
he
very well,
is.
very
I
well
love,
played. Right.
Yeah, I love how joyful and playful and maniacal he is.
He's a fan. He's like a fan of all this.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, and
Yeah.
this is maybe the answer to your question. He was originally supposed to be the villain. There was supposed to be a cold open of the movie, different than the one we have, where he was the villain invading the family, trying to get revenge on Mr. Incredible while they were in like witness protection, anonymous hiding in the suburbs. And they had another villain who was more corporate.
I guess there's an element where I feel like there's kind of two movies happening.
Yeah. I also think it's a movie. It differs from the other Pixar films, certainly up until this point, where like they had been very cohesive and straightforward on, like, as you said, everything supporting one theme.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this movie is sort of more of like an essay exploring questions from a lot of different angles.
Yes.
Like it has complete thoughts in terms of character arcs. In terms of themes, it's kind of wrestling with a lot of things and not trying to really settle on any one thing.
Or
at the
I'm
end.
wrong. Or I'm not.
But also,
getting it,
no
and
one's
that's
ever
okay.
been able to totally crack this movie in terms of what he's trying to say. Like, there's a reason people keep on coming back to it and going, like, are we supporting this weird Atlas Shruggy thing? Which I don't think it's that clear cut, but it also is, like, you can never find any read of the movie that totally lines up.
No.
Right.
The thing that always sticks in my craw the most is the running
Spinach.
at the end.
Oh.
Running at the end?
Yeah, Dash is winning the race.
Oh, sure.
But he doesn't. He comes in second.
No, I think he wins.
No,
They pull him back.
They pull him
I
back.
mean, I know
so
he pulled him back, but I thought it was like, because they're like, not too close.
Yeah,
Not
he comes in second.
where it's
Yeah.
like, he shouldn't be allowed to run against those people. I always get so mad about it.
Yeah.
He's got super speed. And
But he
the
doesn't-
argument...
But he doesn't win. That's the point, is like he just comes
That makes
in
no
second.
sense. The argument of the movie seems to be like, oh, but he's finally embracing his gifts. He's like, one, he's not.
Right.
And two, it's not fair. And I think the movie is like, well, that's life. You know what I mean? And like, that's where I always, it's the one thing about The Incredibles that bugs me.
Sure.
I can't dismiss it. Whereas like with Ratatouille and Tomorrowland, his other quote unquote, like little slightly Randian movies, I'm more like, I think he's moving away from that. I think he's challenging it. I think, you know, like, this is the one where I'm like, what am I supposed to take away from him running in that fucking race?
To me, it's just sort of like the a bow on Dash's story, and and we can kind of be like, oh, that's the happy ending.
Bow
of that.
on Violet's story is like so emotionally fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know, the bow and everything. But with Dash, I'm like, what? He can't race? That's crazy.
I wonder.
Well, Violet ends up dating my friend John Trowbridge at the end of the.
Tony Roger does look like
friend of the podcast and former guest John Trowbridge.
He looks like John Trowbridge.
He does look like John Trowbridge.
Hey,
that's also
so awkward.
That
guy.
name
That
is so good.
One of
Tony
my best
Ridinger.
friends. You're talking.
No,
about.
I'm talking about the character.
Yeah, I know. You're talking about one of her best friends.
Another turtleneck, by the way, Ben. We were talking
very
turtleneck.
Well, and this is where I want to segue into something that if I may, that blows my goddamn mind about The Incredibles. The last time I watched The Incredibles, and this might be just something you've talked about a million times, and I'm like, my mind is blown. That The Incredibles, I was watching, the last time I was watching The Incredibles, I was like, wait a minute, does this take place in the 60s?
Yeah.
Have you read about this?
No. What do you mean?
So The Incredibles like takes place in like an undefined
kind of retro-y place,
but
Municiberg,
but beyond that, so the newsreel with the suicide or whatever you think is like 40, you know, that could be anywhere from the 40s to the 50s, even the early 60s.
I always took it as 50s, maybe late 40s.
The story takes place 15 years after that. So the latest this could happen is the 70s or whatever. The newspaper he's reading has the date 1962 on it.
Interesting.
All of their furniture is mid-century modern furniture.
Yeah.
All of the like gadgets and stuff are very 1960s. A lot of the vehicles are as well.
Yeah, and like the whole look at the communities
and
and
the cop
office.
uniforms are like the 2-button.
And other than super villain technology, there's no
And there was that super villain technology in the 60s
exactly.
superhero movies anyway. but my brain exploded, and then I started reading about it, and there's like all of these like tons and tons of articles about when the Incredibles
debating
took place.
when it takes place. Yeah,
because even just that newsreel, the timeline with the newsreel, and knowing that this is 15 years later, like it's the mid 60s.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's really interesting. Like and then I watched it again, and with through those eyes.
Also, the island is very like Bond villain.
Very much
and
so.
that's and stylistically, it's like. Oh yeah, that makes like throwing back to that imagery and that visual language. I totally understand, and that's very Pixar.
But literally,
it's in this. Like it's not just like throwbacky genre stuff. It's like actually takes place. Then and then there you have your turtlenecks.
Yeah, which also those turtlenecks. Yeah, it's
but
true.
You know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
an Iron Giant's
the car
in the 50s,
that they're the car that
Iron
they're
Giant's in the 50s.
The car that they're sitting in when they're listening to the cop scanner.
Yeah,
like it's not. It just I had a moment of like the world changed shape.
Sure, but even when you're like, looking at like Bob's office, where he has all the sort of like Mr. Incredible heyday memorabilia, the like format of the Time magazine cover.
Oh yeah, it's like all the early 60s.
It's very much like the Woody collection in Toy Story 2, where they've like so studied what merchandise looked like from that time period, what press looked like from that time period, all the sort of graphic design styles and everything.
Well, and the quality of the film grain quality of the interview.
Yeah.
It's the newsreel that places it really.
Yeah,
because when 47 essentially.
When you see all the men like walking in their hats, like that incredible shot. That's one of my favorite things in the movie.
Right,
is that out of focus rack shot,
which they say is one of the 5 most complicated shots.
I'm sure.
So many
like
things.
That I'm obsessed with pulling focus in animated movies. I can't wrap my head around it. It blows my mind. And that shot, which is, I can't even wrap my head around. But because of the clothes that they're wearing and because of the way it was shot, it's just like that's when the movie takes. It blows my mind that The Incredibles. Watch it again.
Yeah,
the movie takes place in the 60s or the 50s.
Yeah.
It's unclear.
1962 is the perfect read to me.
But then there are things that are outside of that, live outside. There are technologies that are a little outside of that and stuff, but it's very interesting.
Like to nerd out about something for a second. Please. This is something I had not heard before.
Now let's nerd out.
Let's nerd out. If I can open this nerd box here. A big difference with like CGI versus hand-drawn animation is like there is essentially a simulated camera within the computer.
Right.
So it's like you have your little set and you have your characters and all your props. But then there's another part of the program that is this digital computer that is able to like pull focus and such. But also rather than just like drawing it from the angle that you want the shot to be at, you stage it in a sort of proscenium way, and then you kind of find where you're going to place the camera and set up your shots and your coverage within that animation, right?
Yep.
Also, can't you do that after the fact too?
Yes. Right, but that's the point. It's like you pretty much like you animate it straight.
Yeah.
To some degree, and then he'll go in like a director would after seeing a blocking rehearsal with like his camera team, where there's literally like the team that's like the digital camera team.
Yeah.
And he's like, could we shoot it on this kind of lens? And the computer pretends that lens is on it, whatever.
That's insane.
All this crazy stuff. But so a big thing they did with this movie, because this movie has like 1,000 different sets.
Yeah.
And most of the Pixar films have been pretty contained up until this point. They have a couple central environments.
Right.
And they'll reuse a lot of the same, like Monsters, Inc. takes place a lot within
a building.
That office building, you know?
And then there's like his apartment.
Right. And Toy Story takes place in essentially like 4 rooms, you know, Bug's Life all takes place in like the backyard. They had so many sets for this, and each of those sets, you have to take the time to design it and also construct it in the computer and construct every object, you know?
Right.
Like if
Which
there's
is
a coffee
why they make
mug.
sequels.
Right, you have to render the coffee mug. They save a lot of time if they make a sequel and money.
Well, they have rigs. You know about rigs?
Yes. Oh, baby, do I know about rigs? So the thing that blew my mind was...
Tim Riggins? Do you know about Tim Riggins?
Of course.
Do I know about Tim Riggins?
Yeah.
King of the Riggers.
Easy.
A thing they did... a thing they did in this movie that is incredible, no pun intended, is in order to save money, they partially built digital sets. and then placed the camera in places where you couldn't see that the rest of the set hadn't been built like it was a live action movie.
So they actually did it like a live action movie. Right.
Right. So like if a Syndrome's lair is like this big, or that one transitional room with like the volcano door is this big, and it would take that much time and energy to do the whole thing, they're like, can we shoot it from this angle so you never have to see this corner of like Edna Mode's house?
Yeah.
Which is insane and ingenious.
It's amazing.
Right.
I mean, they do, and this movie needs to have that globe-trotting Bond feel.
Right.
Has the score,
right?
You know, like in the Edna Mode, right? Like, so I guess you gotta do that.
And because people are more discerning with human characters in like the whole kind of uncanny valley way, like A Bug's Life, they had like 4 ant templates, and they essentially kept on copy pasting them for all the like crowd scenes. For this, they had to develop a whole new technology to be able to like mass produce variations on a couple human types so that they could have like in that scene of all the businessmen walking, like 40 characters that look somewhat distinct, but you don't have to spend time designing each one separately. There are all these cheats they came up with, which are like very bootstrappy live action type things in order to like pinch pennies, because he kept on being like, no, I need the shot of the finger going through the hole on the costume, which they were like, that will take us 9 months to do.
Yeah. With the fabric.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those those like hair algorithm tests for Monsters Inc?
Yeah,
it's unreal.
It's insane.
Where like Sully will be jumping over. Sully will like jump over a barrel, and his hair will be left behind him, and he's like,
it'll like turn into a koosh ball.
They just have
if he touches the wrong object.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, so we get to
let's talk about the movie.
Aborted suicide.
We have been talking.
No. It's just you don't understand how long this fucking podcast goes.
Well, we don't have to do the equivalent amount of time to what we've set out, the pace we've set out right now.
Well, but that's always the problem. We spend an hour and 20 minutes on 5 minutes.
We're talking themes, baby.
I know. But then the thing is, you then want to talk about 10 more things.
It's also partially my fault, because I'm like, here's what I want to talk about. So you can just, when I leave, you can blame me.
Yeah, but we always end up doing that.
We could do a dash.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
Let's do a dash run through the plot.
Yeah, but the problem is there are, I swear to God, 50 things in this movie you want to talk about for 5 minutes, right?
I guess it's a 6-parter. I don't know.
This is what I'm saying. It's like you could say we could rush through it, but we always end up like, actually, that is interesting, though, you know?
I'm counting at least 5 minutes of talking about how long it's taking. So,
this is what the fans demand, people.
Can we talk about my favorite character?
Yes.
Violet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of our favorite character?
I don't know.
Elastigirl's pretty good.
I have to wait on that for a sec.
I think
I just haven't decided.
Sure.
The thing they do so well with Violet,
very unusual character for a movie like this, right? Would you say, right? You know, not something Disney has done a lot of.
No, but it feels like they're not
highly introverted character.
Yes,
they did, and then they also did it a little bit in Inside Out.
Yes,
years later,
teenager, convincing teenage girl,
right?
I mean, they made the whole movie about that, about building that character.
But there's something so specific to her level of self-consciousness, and when it's cut with like anger, like there's the scene when she starts freaking out at Dash making fun of her for Tony Ridenshaw at the dinner table, where she gets like a little bit too angry. Like her emotions just get a little out of whack, and there's one shot where she looks maniacal.
Don't talk to me, little insect.
Right. Like she looks like evil.
Right. Well, she's got the one eye too.
Right.
Which is a little like, a little demonic.
Right. And it's also just like, talk about like writing to theme, the beauty of like this girl who doesn't want to be seen can literally turn invisible and still feel self-conscious, you know? Yeah. Like she can hide out from the entire world and still she feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
She also pulls a weird move of just dissolving her head. So she's a headless body.
That's not her choice. It's established later on.
Because she can't change the clothes.
Her clothes don't change until Edna designs the special suit.
Right.
But that's like, God, what fucking good economic storytelling to like beautiful like 60s upbeat like Giacchino, cute, Tony Ridenshaw
just wants to disappear.
John Trowbridge.
Did you say it's his first score, right?
It's his film. This is his first film score. He had done Lost and he had done video games.
I mean, Lost is coming out this year, so like, even Lost, he's new.
I don't even know how
worked on Alias. Maybe he must have like been on someone's radar.
Such a great score.
But he just like kills this thing.
He does.
They said this was the first time that they allowed someone to use a different musical cue over the Disney Pixar logos.
Oh yeah, sure.
Interesting.
It had always been the classical, like When You Wish Upon a Star.
Yeah.
And Brad Bird was like, I need like a
Squid it.
right.
Yeah.
But the opening cue is like very kind of somber and like sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
I know the word you're looking for, but I don't know. I know what you're talking about.
It's ominous, I guess. Like, and the short before
Now
this,
they do it all the time.
Right.
What did I just see? Oh, Coco.
yeah. I don't know if you folks remember, but the short before this was Boundin.
Yeah.
Which was like the
Boundin.
folk tale of the animals.
My wife
Strange
loves
match.
Boundin.
It's
Humble
a cute
brag.
one.
Yeah.
Humble brag that I married.
Yeah. Yes, that's your humble
And
brag.
that she loves
wife,
Boundin.
Boundin is the inside of my wife's brain. Like if you crack
Her
open,
inside out is just Boundin
Yeah,
for 2
it
hours.
It is. It's if you had to ask me to explain my wife, I'd be like, watch Boundin,
Yeah.
wrap skin around it.
The
And then everyone would be like, ew.
the director Boundin, who
Ben
just
knows
passed at the
Jesse.
time that we're recording this, humble brag. Ben knows your wife.
Ben knows my wife, humble brag.
Yeah. The director Boundin, who just passed away, but was also the narrator in Boundin, plays Rick Decker in this. And they
Wait, who's Rick Decker?
Rick Decker is the,
he's the nice,
witness
the
relocation.
helpful man.
They're like,
right.
come on, Bob, I can't.
Yeah.
do
And in the
this
sequel,
again.
he's
Incredible.
going to be played
Amazing.
by
Jonathan Banks, because I
Jonathan
guess
Banks.
Bud Lucky's health was declining.
Right.
But Brad Bird said that he pitched to Disney when they realized they were going to put the short before the movie, that the intro to Boundin was Rick Decker sitting at a desk and pointing himself a glass of whiskey, being like, "Can I tell you a story?" Because then he's like 40 minutes later when he shows up in The Incredibles, you're like, well, this guy's got an active imagination.
He really pitched that? That's a crazy pitch.
He actually pitched that. And he was like,
really
I guess I get why they didn't want to go.
Yeah,
for
I could see Disney being like, that sounds very confusing for a small child.
But I mean,
Sweet
so is
animal.
Boundin.
So the jackalope, he's a part of this somehow? Like, is he another superhero?
I'm always like I always am very like studious about how, you know, the short but before a Pixar movie is usually like, we're working out the kinks of some
we're
kind of
testing
technology
something.
Yeah,
for the
right,
next Pixar movie.
Right.
So like, what was it? Bird on a Wire.
For the
Bird-
birds,
Bird-
I think
For
it's
the
called.
birds.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, we're looking at feathers, and then Monsters Inc. came
Right.
out or whatever, or like Light Source or Fur or whatever. So when Boundin came out, I was like, what the hell is the next Pixar movie
Antlers.
going to be? Antlers.
We got to figure out
We
antlers.
got to figure out our antlers and our jumping.
Yeah, right.
I know that Boundin is an outlier, but I really love it.
Boundin's really
it's
fun.
so crazy.
Yeah.
Did you have some point
And
to make
silly.
about Boundin apart from the...
No, just I wanted that crazy notion
That's
to
weird.
make it Rick Decker's
Yeah, it's very
daydream.
strange.
It lost the Academy Award. Huh,
Two?
interesting. Harvey Crumpet.
Oh, Harvey Crumpet's really good.
I remember that. It's like Polish or something, right?
It's the guy who did Mary and Max, that claymation movie about Asperger's.
Yeah, which was sort of a Pixar-sized hit, right?
Yeah. It
So-
was the Incredibles of Asperger's shorts.
Right. Philip Seymour Hoffman plays a morbidly obese, orthodox Aspergian man who's afraid to leave his home.
So
Made $300 million domestic.
So we did the front of this movie. I love the office stuff in this movie. I love that his
Amazing.
cubicle has a giant pillar in it. That always makes me
I
laugh
know,
every
it's
time.
like it's like the boiler
Right.
sticking
Yes.
into his
The support
so
beam
great.
is his thing.
I just love the visual of him.
I think it's
Like
one of
with
the
the
best
shirt and-
hard cuts of all time is like them.
It's all white.
Right. But them kissing at the wedding to then hard cut. Like,
it's great.
And her being like, you're going to need to be a,
and he said it
more
And a
than
loss
Mr.
of
Incredible.
color. It's also a huge
I mean,
loss of
which is
color.
part of this movie's weird homogeny take. But yes.
Yeah.
But he also said
everyone
like
needs to be like a cog. You know, like
That
all
scene
the
is
pieces fit together.
That
That's
scene
Wallace Shawn.
I watched. Yes, I watched that. The last time I watched The Incredibles, I watched that scene like 16 times.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it. The character design of that character, of
Yeah.
Wallace
Oh my
Shawn's
God.
character, is so funny.
Yeah.
He's like
His height.
3/4 jaw.
I
right?
know,
Like,
and he's
yeah.
while he's walking across the desk,
Yeah.
his head is just bobbing
Yeah.
along like 3 inches above.
Got very short arms.
Unbelievable.
Is that part, because if they're so afraid of a movie about humans,
Yeah.
right? Like, isn't part of the fun? It's like, no, don't worry, every human's
It's a
going to have this,
caricature of them
right,
more.
exactly,
Right.
like crazy design to it.
100%.
Totally.
Because it's a world where literally the variation in height can be between like 1'5" and 7'15".
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Right.
7'15".
Yeah.
Classic height.
Yeah. But he said that like the
Cooperative cogs.
in terms of the
It's like the way his hands.
So
match.
I know.
good.
His
Yeah.
little, like,
Stubby little
nubby
wiggle,
hands.
yeah, they're
carrot
like
finger. He animated The Office
Mm.
and then on the camera digitally zoomed in.
Okay.
Like did a digital zoom lens rather than putting the camera closer.
Oh, weird.
So that it looks even more flattened out.
Weird.
Like he used all these insane
Go for it.
techniques that you don't need to do and cost a lot more money.
Mhm.
But he was like, I want to really solve this stuff.
And I love that he has OCD. That
Oh, yeah.
character is
Yeah,
like
with all the
lining the
pens lined
pencils
up.
up
Oh,
on
yes.
the calendar.
But even I remember like seeing this in theaters and the Bob looking out the window and seeing the guy be like brutally beaten
Mhm.
Yeah.
felt like very heavy for
Yeah.
like a PG Disney film.
Well, also there's this insurance agent who's like, insurance is a scam, and the
Right.
stockholders are who matter.
I hope we don't represent him.
It's a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
to lead with,
Right.
So he
It's very grown up.
he
Very
puts,
grown
he
up.
puts the guy in traction. Also, that
Yeah.
shot of him letting go of
All
the
of that,
doorknob, and it's
Yeah, and it's
just
all
all crumpled up.
Yeah.
It's very it's grown up.
Yeah.
These are grown up issues.
Yes.
He feels
Yes.
inadequate.
And I think it actually
It's like
started.
impotent, yeah.
It started a run of Pixar movies that were very much not
because
kids
you've got
movies.
Up
Yeah.
not long
Well,
Right.
after
that's a whole
Ratatouille is
other-
100% not a
I
kid's film.
cannot get into Up.
We have
let's-
the same takes on Up.
Let's not get into Up. Although
Good first act.
right, I think we actually. It sounds like we all agree on Up.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
Down. More like down.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. Becky, do you want us to cut that
Roasted.
out? Because you know this is going out publicly, right? If that's too
No,
hot, we
I
can
don't
cut
care.
that out.
Becky is
you
coming
can,
for
you.
you.
can know that I think Up is a giant bag of dicks. I'm fine with it.
To me,
You
it's more
can't.
like
You can't blind me with pretty and make me forget that there's no story going
But
on.
it
agree,
does
there's
sound
no
like you
story.
love the other Doctor movies, though. You love Monsters Inc. and
I
Inside Out.
love P Doctor. I love Inside Out. I love Monsters Inc. The
Yeah.
guy knows how to design the internal workings of an idea better than anyone else.
Up, it
Right.
feels like they just didn't do the work, like on the story. They were just like, this is cute enough,
Who do
right?
I have a friend
think
who
they
gets
did-
very pissed off that the I'll remember it. It has something to do with like the rule bending of like the dogs need collars to talk,
Right.
but like
Other things don't.
they can fly planes.
Oh, right. Yes,
Like,
the dog's fly.
I haven't seen Up
It,
in a
it
while.
seems just
Yeah.
like a crazy. Well, again, we're not talking about Up,
We're not here to talk about
Also,
Up.
I heard,
but I have feelings about it.
I
We'll
heard
just
Pete
say
Doctor say that like the Christopher Plummer character, the bad guy,
that.
the idea, the reason why Kevin the bird was the MacGuffin was because his eggs gave you immortality. And he
Okay.
was like, and then we realized early on we didn't need that. And it's like, no, you kind of needed something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I will say, I liked the end of it. I liked the end of Up. The beginning of Up, I think, was the greatest manipulation of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
I agree.
Uh,
Even though it works.
Insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
insane.
I'm happy to be manipulated sometimes. It works, but it's.
Yeah.
But earn
yes.
my tears.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
When
mean, I
I'm-
agree.
When I'm crying in Toy Story 3
Yeah.
and 2,
And one.
And one.
I mean, those tears are earned. I care.
Sega
I
Genesis
care
game.
about these characters.
Yeah.
I've lived and grown up with these characters. I'm invested in what happens to these
Right.
characters,
I get that.
as opposed to just like when you wish upon a star and then
Well,
abortion or whatever, a
No,
miscarriage.
it's a miscarriage, right? Hysterectomy.
I also,
Crazy.
I
I think Toy Story 3 is really manipulative too, though. That's my
But
hot
fight
take.
you
but
on
at that point, I have an investment in those
Yeah.
characters.
Right.
And I care
You
what
were
happens
easier.
to them.
We're easier to manipulate. Reach for the
a
sky.
decade plus.
Anyway, Incredibles. We have to talk. Do not make a point about a different movie. Are you about to?
I'm going to make my one Pete
Oh,
Doctor
God.
Have we talked about Last Jedi yet?
point. Oh, we'll talk about
Just
that.
kidding.
When
Sort of. I'm sort
when
of kidding.
when people like put up there with the best Pixar movies, it reminds me of that.
It makes me crazy and
Yeah.
want to kill everybody.
It reminds me of the scene in Freaks and Geeks where they're arguing over the best Bill Murray movie, and someone suggests Stripes, and he just goes, "No one can tell me what happens in the third act of Stripes."
You bring this up all the time. You've mentioned this on like
Best.
4 podcasts.
It's the fucking
Okay.
best. But when everyone talks about Up, they remember the ending and the
All
first
right.
30 minutes, and that's it.
I can't
That's true.
stand it.
Okay, Up's not that
And also,
good.
no one can tell you what happens in the third act of Stripes.
Guess
We're
what movie-
talking about Up in the context of The Incredibles.
Guess what movie
And now
is
let me
good?
talk about Stripes story problems.
The Incredibles.
You know, both in Stripes and in The Incredibles, there's a Winnebago.
That is
So
true.
that's
That is true.
we can't ignore that.
This is one of those movies where like there is not a single detail that doesn't somehow pay off later. Like they set all the pieces out in the board so
talking
well.
about Incredibles?
Incredibles.
Okay.
Not Stripes. Stripes leaves a lot of stuff on the table. But Incredibles, like there are so many things where like that's such a good example of okay, so how do they get back to the city from like Syndrome's island?
Mhm.
Well, we've established the visual language of like what his rocket looks like, how it has the space for the Omni drone. We can have them exploit that with her.
I agree.
Right.
The only exception to that, again, I think is I think almost every promise is kept in The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Everything that's set up is paid off. Everything that's paid off is set up, except for this villain motivation thing. And I think because I'm so sensitive about,
I get that.
because I
it's
look
there.
for that so strongly. Like bad guys who are just like, I'm a bad guy. I'm like, I don't care. I need to know why you're a bad guy. So that's the only thing to me that didn't feel tied together.
I do love that they pretty much keep him out of the first hour of the movie. Like the first hour is a lot of like, you know, setting up the golden days, setting up the homogeny of like the present day,
the family, how the dynamic is.
Well, to me, that's the
calcified.
other thing too, is that the villain in this movie to me is a fear of aging.
Of course,
it's a fear
that's
of
the main-
losing your
yes.
spirit.
fear of irrelevancy.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Right,
Fear of invisibility, a
Impotence.
fear of losing the thing that makes you you.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's a much more interesting
Yes.
villain. So I kind of wish that Syndrome supported that. As
Well,
the
he does
villain.
in a way because he wants to take away what makes you you.
I guess
you know.
so.
Then that's how Syndrome works. Like he
Right.
wants to rob you of your what's special about you.
Right.
It's just I think also he's Buddy, and they've planted that seed there, and maybe that doesn't resonate
you
right for
already
people.
have
Yeah.
the weird like 30-second exchange about participation trophies.
Well, that's right. That's obviously maybe it's a Brad Bird thing. It's
Yeah.
a classic '60s dad thing where it's like, they don't let kids like compete anymore.
Graduating from 8th grade to 9th grade.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's like the most hacky like dad complaint there is, right?
Right.
Like, what am I doing attending a kindergarten graduation ceremony, right? Like,
But it's like
and it's Craig T. Nelson. I mean, he's a dad.
and he's a coach.
Yep.
I don't know if this is an overly
he's a
simplistic
coach.
read.
He is. He is.
And he's a coach.
He's a
We can't
coach.
deny it.
I don't know if this is an overly simplistic read, but I feel like the main thing Brad Bird is trying to argue for with this movie is like standards.
Sure. Right.
You know, like he's like, we should have a world in which standards exist.
Again,
and like,
that sounds like
but
a
it does
dad.
sound like, it sounds like a dad.
Standards.
But the movie, I mean, yeah.
Standards are slipping.
The thing I love most about, I mean, I don't even know if that's true, but one of the things I love so much about this movie is that it is about, growing up at every stage.
Yeah.
And the things you're able to do when like there's this feeling of loss that I'm growing up.
Mhm.
And then there's also, but then there's all these superpowers you get when you grow up.
And realizing how much better they are now than they were in their glory days because of how
Right.
much more experienced, intelligent.
And in this movie, after he gets fired, when he starts doing these superhero missions again, just fighting a weird ball droid, but whatever.
But also he's like killing it, and they have this
I know.
jazzy like,
and he's flirting
montage.
with Elizabeth Pena.
So good in this.
Great in this movie. I mean,
So
Mirage.
good.
But like, then we see he's reinvigorated and he's, more sexually virile and
Well, and
he's
there's
I
also
love that they
dressing
keep
well.
on showing him like pulling him back into the bedroom.
Well, that whole montage is amazing.
Yeah.
With that
Of him
Life's
working
Incredible
out.
again, it's the greatest music fucking cue of all time.
Yeah. And then like what you were saying about before about these very adult themes, that there's this sniff of an affair.
Right.
A little bit.
Which is
right.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, she finds Mirage's hair on his coat.
She does. I mean, it's the classic. I mean, and in doing so, she discovers that her husband has become a secret agent superhero fighting a ball droid. But like, it's the same iconography,
But
right?
the reason, but the it's also the same motivation of I want to feel young again.
Right.
I want to feel alive again, and that's why people have affairs and or become superheroes.
Right.
There is a moment that I like viewed in a new way this time, which is when he gets the first message from Mirage and it slips out of like the manila envelope.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time it was like, oh my God, it's a flat video screen.
Right. The
And
little
now
iPad.
any kid watching would be like, yeah, she sent me an iPad with this expensive
Right,
gift.
right.
But like, it doesn't feel like.
And then I would come in and be like, it was the 60s.
Right.
It's high tech.
Like you have to explain two prongs. A, it came out in 2004.
Right.
B, it said 40 years before that.
Yeah.
I do love the like
you like that,
business
Ben?
card printing out.
What that
My
clip?
headphones are dead, so I don't know if I'm blowing up
They're
anymore.
dead?
Yeah, they're not working at all. It went
because
from
it's not
like
plugged in.
one ear. No,
Oh,
it's
there it
plugged
is.
in.
Well,
It
and
was like in both ears and then one ear and
it
then
was
now
like a
nothing.
lenticular image.
Right,
Oh wait,
that
no,
I
the
love.
card was
Yes.
the lenticular.
Yeah, no, both.
No, both.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
screen is lenticular
How
and
do
the
you?
card is lenticular.
That's insane too. Like
They
how
said
do
that was
you-
another one of those shots that took like 8 months. 2 guys just worked on that.
Yeah, like how do you shoot in?
Am I blowing up?
CGI?
Ben looks like, yeah, unhappy. Okay.
How do you in CGI
Yeah.
make a lenticular image?
Well, with difficulty? I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I can't answer those questions.
So he
Griffin's
gets
getting new headphones. That's
caught
why
up in
we
this
all-
thing. He's
so
living
that he
the
can
life.
stop screaming and blowing everyone's ears up.
He's right. He starts doing the Omnidroid missions. They're fun.
So fun.
There's also that scene where he and Frozone do the police scanner in the front, which is okay.
I love that scene because I love that scene.
I mean, for one, he's wearing a great powder blue turtleneck, so that's a great part of it.
one of the great turtleneck movies in
It's a
American
fantastic
history.
turtleneck.
But also, I love like Frozone being like, "Come on, man, just like move on."
What do you think
just can't get
Frozone's
over it.
doing?
When?
Like, what's his job now?
He's got a good apartment.
He's
He
got a
seems
fabulous
to
apartment.
have reacclimated to
This is
For
what
a
I'm
black
saying.
man in 1962, he
I
has
mean,
a hell of an
killing it
apartment.
in Municipalburg, and the rents are
Municipalburg,
high
yeah.
in Municipalburg.
I
He's got like a
mean,
high rise.
This
a
was
lot of
not
light,
a great
big
period
windows.
for black guys
No.
who were not superheroes.
No.
It also, I pointed this out, like when I was watching it. There's two, like this character's designed to look like Samuel L. Jackson, just like the comic book Ultimate Nick Fury was designed to look like Samuel. Like, how many actors are that? Where it's like, let's just make him look like Samuel L. Jackson. Everyone's gonna get it.
Yeah,
I mean, Frozone doesn't look that much like Samuel L. Jackson.
he looks like
Sammy
very
Jackson
skinny
wishes.
Sam Jack.
He looks like Samuel L. Jackson. You guys
also,
are crazy. He's
you know
got a
what's
goatee.
crazy is Gazer Beam looks exactly like Stephen Colbert. Pull up an image of Gazer Beam. I was like, Colbert? It's so weird.
By the way, one of the great
Or was it
superhero
Yeah,
names.
Gazer Beam.
Because they had to come up with so many. He does look like
So
Stephen
quickly.
Colbert. So many, right? Like because they go through that slideshow of all the names, and some of them are fine. I think Gazer Beam is Thunderhead's good.
The one I love is Atomic Jack.
That's good.
Not because of the name.
There he is.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, he looks just
Isn't
like Stephen
that
Colbert.
crazy?
Atomic Jack has this like swoop of blonde hair, and he just looks a little disgruntled.
You guys don't like Gazer Beam? I know he's supposed to
love
be like
Gazer Beam. He's a great guy.
Cyclops. Well, I don't know. He didn't do a great job against that Omnidroid.
Okay, no one did.
Well,
Nobody did.
Mr. Incredible did.
Yeah, but the whole point is they escalate it until it can finally be. Mr. Incredible is better at hiding.
Here's another question. Mr. Incredible, so that's when he goes down and he sees Gazer Beam and sees the Kronos thing,
Mhm.
and that little scanner comes in and scans the room. He hides behind bones.
He hides behind bones. I know.
Bad scan.
That terrible
The
scanner.
scanner really let Syndrome down. There's no question. I
He
think
hid-
about it all
he
the
hid
time.
behind bones.
Although I
That's
love
not,
love that scanner because I like the little chirpy noise it makes.
no,
Yeah.
great.
Great
We all
scanner.
love the
We
scanner.
love the
We
scanner.
all
It's
love the
not
scanner.
very
I assume
effective.
Incredibles 2 is like 50% about the scanner,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
yes, I believe so.
Da-da-da-da. I that has always bothered me where I'm like, you would have picked up the
Yes.
like the scanner is not a vaudevillian Keystone Cop. It'd be like, well, I guess he's not here.
Right.
He's hiding behind that
The
lamppost.
scanner wasn't drunk that day,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, right,
Like-
because Mr. Incredible is very large.
Big guy.
And Gazer Beam is all bones.
Yeah.
What are you pointing a Ben for?
And what do you think about Mr. Incredible's physical size?
It's a great question.
Is it?
Well, here's my thing, Becky. I like stuff big.
And you cannot lie.
I like big stuff, and I cannot lie.
That's so stupid.
Ben gets angry when things are small in movies and gets excited when things are big in
Can I
movies.
have an
Especially-
example of something that's small in a movie that bothers you?
The
doesn't like-
Ewoks.
He hates Yoda.
What?
Yeah.
I also
too
love
short.
I
that.
don't like that
I love
lesson.
that you look like a monitor with arms because I can't see your head at all. You look like a TV, like a Pee-wee's Playhouse TV monitor with arms.
Magic screen.
I
Yeah.
love that. I don't like the Ewoks because I feel like the lesson they're trying to be like is, look, don't underestimate the small thing. I don't like that.
He loves Chewbacca.
I like
you
big
want to
stuff.
overestimate the big thing.
Yes, exactly. I want you to see a big thing and be like, that thing's big. I'm scared.
Okay, but Mr. Incredible,
What about compies?
big?
What are compies?
The little
They're
dinosaur.
little dinosaurs that are scary as F.
the little
They're in
like
the
ankle
Lost
biter.
World.
A
They
lot-
eat Camilla Bell.
But see, here's
a
another
lot
thing,
of
Becky.
a lot of little things are just as scary as
I
one
like-
big thing. There's an
I
Ellen
like-
joke about that.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of things, a
'cause then
multitude
it's
of
big.
things. Because, like, you'll remember in the second Matrix, there's the Key Man.
He's got a
Nobody
lot of
remembers
keys.
He's
the
got a
second
ton
Matrix,
of
Ben.
keys. It's so good. Like, how did he get all those keys? Anyway.
So you like a lot of little things or a big thing.
He likes size.
And also it has to be wet.
Be it quantity or...
Yeah,
right.
that's true, too. I like
You know
stuff
there are
wet.
a lot of Ewoks, right?
It's a wet movie.
If they were in the rain, he would be happy. He likes a good
Or on
slick
a key
flick.
ring.
Never rains.
On a key ring.
Never.
If you had a bunch of wet Ewoks on a key ring, you'd be happy.
Yes, 100%.
Bunch of wet Ewoks.
When's your
on
birthday?
It's June 24th. So,
Okay, so I have some
It's
time
about a
to
month
whip
from
that together.
this episode dropping.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna make
do you,
this happen
look,
for you.
I would honestly love that.
Do you-
An encased little Ewok on
wait,
a
but
keychain
I'm
in
confused.
water.
do you think he's big or should
He's
he be
huge.
bigger?
He's
All right,
a
okay.
good size.
So what's your favorite big thing in a movie?
Oh,
Are you a
shit.
Pacific Rim guy?
Yes.
There's a new one coming out.
There
I'm
is some
excited
singing on
for
Friday.
it.
I love Pacific Rim because to me the whole movie is just about bigness.
Well, Ben's got... am I misspeaking here by saying your favorite movie character in recent history?
Well, we say the character.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's big.
Oh, he is
yeah.
big.
He's quite big.
He's
Ben,
big.
Ben watched Wreck-It
Not
Ralph
only is
at
he
3
big
a.m.
and
4
texted
months
us.
ago and now can't stop
Are you
talking
excited about Rampage? There's gonna be a lot of big in that movie.
Dwayne Johnson fights big animals?
Well, fights
Is that
with
the
big
arcade
animals.
game sort
Yeah.
of?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the
I haven't-
movie version of Rampage, the video game.
Holy shit.
Big gorilla, big wolf, big alligator.
Well,
my
also,
God.
wait,
They're
what
making a
about the
movie of
Omni
Rampage.
Droid? Wait, Ben, did you rewatch The Incredibles for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Omni Droid, right, starts out big, only gets bigger. That's
Right.
good, right?
I mean, that just makes sense. That makes it a better fighting
Right.
device. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're going to make it
I love
smaller.
It would be
big
good if-
and small as like a preference
Quality.
thing. Like,
No,
I just like big better.
And dry and wet.
Because, like,
Well, just- yeah,
Anytime
you
there's
could-
a movie with rain, he loves it.
Well, because you could make a movie dry, sure. But,
So Cloverfield,
yeah.
The
is
original?
you love.
Huge.
Oh,
Big.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very big, and I think raining at some point.
I need to
Sure.
make it clear. This is like not a bit at all.
Oh no,
Yeah,
I
no,
believe
no,
you.
it's- it's a thing.
Any film in which something is large and wet, and especially if there are multiples of it, Ben
Yeah.
immediate
So you're
thumbs
like a
up.
whale guy.
Yeah.
A whale guy, for sure.
Ben hates Free Willy once he starts trying to escape. So there's this big shift, like an hour
A
in.
big shift.
big
big
shift an
shift.
hour in after
Not a lot of little
Life's
shifts.
Incredible again.
Right. Syndrome reveals himself.
Yep.
He's been systematically killing off, locating and killing off all the superheroes, using them as
Right.
testing grounds for...
There's the Great Gazer Beam fuck up, like in which we, as we discussed, the
Yeah.
little probe doesn't see him.
Right.
I mean, it's fine. I'm willing to let that go.
No, I think it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing has to be perfect in this
No,
movie.
no,
I mean,
and it's not. But I'm willing to be like, okay, that scanner for whatever reason can't
yeah, because Syndrome's
see
like
past bones.
Syndrome's 90%. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
his
No,
rocket
his
boots
stuff-
aren't
yeah,
great.
Yeah,
His,
no.
he's
Stuff
he-
doesn't work very well.
the cape was a bad choice.
Yeah.
you
Cape's a bad
know?
choice.
Yeah,
Well, so that's the other thing that's going on. So we've been introduced to Edna at this point because the
briefly,
suit gets
to
ripped.
repair the hobo suit.
Right. And
The hobo suit.
yeah, and she demands that she redo the entire thing. Played by Brad Bird.
Amazing.
He won
Racist? Question mark?
You know,
Okay.
okay, so this is my question.
Great
I don't,
question.
I don't think
Right?
so.
I don't
but
think so either.
Now it's like you're like, wait, is Edna Mode supposed to be Asian? But she's not.
I
right?
don't
she's
think so. I think she's
Edith Head,
European.
isn't she?
I think she's Edith Head.
Commentary track.
Uh-oh.
He directly says she's supposed to be half German, half Japanese. I
Perfect.
always thought she
Then
was
it's perfect.
entirely European.
I always took her as German. Exactly.
She's
As-
supposed to be half and half.
And I
As-
think this was because Brad Bird, and I may very much
Yeah.
be wrong, it's that it's a character he did anyway.
No,
Well, wasn't it a thing where it's like no one was getting what he wanted and he was
Yeah,
like, I'll
okay.
just do it?
because they do their scratch tracks where like the Pixar animators voice all the characters
Right,
for the
right,
story
right.
reels, and he said he played like 7 of the characters. Like
Got
he
it.
played
Sure.
Mr. Incredible, he played Dash, he played like all the male characters and all those story reels. Then they found other actors, and he had such a specific idea of what this accent would sound like,
Yeah.
and no one else could do
I
it.
also don't think it's racist
I
because
don't
it's
either.
so crazily
but it's-
muddled.
right.
But there are moments
It's
where
like
I'm
a
like,
little
does
teetering on the
everyone
edge.
else think
They
it?
wanted.
That's my fear always.
Lily Tomlin. That Brad Bird was like, here's what I want it to sound
Yeah.
like.
Uh-huh.
Did it for Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin was like, I think you got it. Like, I don't think
Oh,
you need me
great.
for
Good
this.
for Lily
Right.
Tomlin.
Which is
Or-
weird because Lily Tomlin could have been like, great, write a check. I'll do whatever that was.
Or
Yeah.
she was like, I don't know what you're saying.
right.
Lily Tomlin would have been great.
Would have been great.
But Edna's
Edna
so
rules. She's great. She makes suits. She has a fabulous apartment. Darling. She has a big automated gun.
Unsurprisingly, one of Romney's favorite
That is literally
characters
my
of all
favorite
time.
part of the
Yeah,
movie. I
of
don't
course.
know why.
That's a real
Edna-
Becky joke.
Edna
It's
Mode.
the timing. I mean, the thing
The
about
timing of the
Yes.
gun folding
yeah,
out.
Yes.
The thing about Brad Bird that I love the most is that his timing is impeccable, and the comic timing, and I'm also always amazed at how you animate timing.
Yes.
It's just insane to me. The timing in The Incredibles, the comedic timing in The Incredibles is like textbook. I've shown it as like when I teach as just like, this is timing. But I think that gun moment for some reason is just like, it just tickles all of my parts.
And also the fact that
guessed.
she's so unfazed by it. She knows what's happening behind her. She's not acknowledging it, and she's taking her time with the correction.
And it's almost that she's annoyed that she installed it.
Yeah.
She's like, ugh, and guessed, like, this thing.
Right.
So annoying.
But so once Helen starts to become suspicious that Bob is having an affair,
Sure.
notices the rip in the suit, calls up Edna, goes to visit her, and Edna reveals that she's made all these costumes for the whole family.
And Edna plays into this affair thing a little bit too, because she's like, "Do you want to know where he is?"
Yeah,
You
right.
know, like
I think she just loves drama, right?
yeah,
she
maybe.
just loves it.
And I love this notion that like she hates supermodels. She's so bored by that world, by the fashion world. Like she loves fashion, but she only wants to apply it to these people who are gods.
for God.
Right. Yeah.
I love that justification.
Yeah.
And
I think
also,
it's
I
so
love that
fun.
she walks on her kitchen counter.
She does. And she has like a little incinerator on her kitchen that she tosses files into.
She's tiny, but she still lives in a normal sized house.
Right.
Like that she designed with
She has
like
to hop on the counter.
We should talk about the fact that this movie is very similar in plot to Watchmen.
yes.
It is both about a like superhero act being passed that
Right.
bans supers, and it's also about someone killing off all the former supers. And she's like right at the middle of that, where she's like, "You should be gods," like you know, like that's what you are. Anyway,
Let the exceptional people be exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
who watches The Incredibles?
We did
Yes.
in preparation for this podcast.
Correct.
But so there's like this beautiful. He does this a lot, but in this sequence when he's cross-cutting in between Helen and Edna talking, becoming suspicious, and Bob has snuck into the computer lab now where he finds the whole program with all the files, sees the
Cerebro?
rundown.
Gazer
Yes, he goes into
he finds
Cerebro.
Cerebro, right?
Right, and you're cross-cutting
Password
between...
Chronos.
Password Chronos. Cross-cutting between the two seemingly unrelated, things, and then when Edna hands her the tracking device, it activates.
Which is very from the 60s.
Right.
Yep.
Activates the thing, sets off the alarm, and then we have the goo balls, which is
Goo balls
such a
are
great
great.
Pixar technology
Oh
thing.
my God.
Love those
I am
goo balls.
obsessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am obsessed with that weapon.
And I also love you see it and you're like, I know
Oh
exactly what these things
my
smell
God.
like. I know what texture they
That
have.
is
Like,
visually one of the most incredible things in the movie and period in general.
and also
ever.
like, what's the one
Very
way
clever.
you stop this
How
guy?
do you fell Mr. Incredible?
Right.
Right. You
It's-
basically just put him in
I am
putty.
obsessed with
So
those-
good.
with the goo ball guns and the texture on those
Unbelievable.
things. Were,
Right.
So into it.
Then there's my favorite sequence in the movie that makes me cry a million tears,
Oh,
which
no.
no one else does. I've tried to bring this up with other people, and they're like, "Oh, that's the sequence that gets you."
Because I know there's a sequence that makes Becky cry that's also one that doesn't.
What?
I mean,
What are you going to say?
in the
plane
Incredibles?
scene.
Yes, yeah, I have watched you cry spontaneously burst into tears when Violet can't make the force field
Right.
form.
That's
It's that-
very upsetting.
Well, it's the whole
and
mounting.
her little heart is broken.
Yeah.
Like, this is a great movie about parents, and it's the whole mounting thing of like where she can't pretend to her kids anymore that it's not scary. You know,
That's
Yeah.
the scene in the cave.
no, that's later. I'm
Okay.
talking about on the plane.
Because that's probably my favorite
scene in the
movie.
cave is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Amazing scene. But no, this is sort of setting that up where
Yeah.
it's like at first she's like, sit down, kids, strap in, like, and they're still playing around, you know what I mean? And like she's on the radio, like the way he like builds everything up kind of slowly and then very quickly, and then she says there are children on board, and you cut back to Syndrome and Mirage's face like shifts, and you're like, whoa, what's he doing?
Right.
This is insane.
Yeah.
No Pixar movie's ever done anything like that again.
No,
where like there's the threat of children dying.
No, but
like it doesn't feel like a fake threat. It feels like they're about to die.
But I will say in Toy Story 3 when they're headed towards the incinerator, that's a moment of like, what the actual hell is going on?
That is a moment that I refuse. I think that is highly emotionally manipulative.
But
it's exactly what I don't like.
To me, it's not trying to manipulate tears. To me, it's
No.
like
I just don't think they're gonna die. And like for some reason in The Incredibles, I do.
But that is a very complicated emotion.
It
of
is,
like,
yeah, it is.
well, let's join hands and die. Like
that's the beauty of that scene.
That's
is
what I
them
like about
accepting death, not that the audience thinks they're actually going to kill off the toys in Toy Story.
Well, when everyone said,
I think the audience,
when people
they
said,
think the audience thinks it's going to happen slightly,
when
right?
people said that like they cried their eyes out in Toy Story, and then I saw it. I thought that's what they were talking. 3,
right?
I thought that's what they were talking about.
But they were talking about
yeah.
Right.
And that moment was just like,
That's
I
when I
don't
lose
know
my
how
mind.
to feel right now, and that's a lot.
We could have a whole debate about Toy Story 3.
But in terms of like, holy shit factor,
But
that
not
that
to be
had it for me.
dismissive, because I do love the toys from Toy Story 3.
Yeah,
but they
But
are
they're
toys.
not children. Yes,
they're not
that's true.
children. I don't mean to be mean.
how?
But there are
dare
there
you.
are
then-
best friends.
Hey,
Oh my
Griffin,
god!
Hey,
Come
on. All right.
Europa. And then there's the force field thing that you
Can I
mentioned,
tell
where she's saying
little
like put a
side
field around.
story? I know
Please.
you're gonna hate me for this, but can I tell a brief side
Yes,
story?
but I just want to finish the sentence,
Fine.
and then you can. Wait,
No,
but like,
you're
it's,
right.
It's what you're saying. The force field thing. It's like she's literally saying to her, "You need to grow up right now.
Right
Yeah.
now.
You know, like you need to. I know you're still like a girl, like a little girl in a lot of ways, but you need to make a force field around
and
this
you
whole
need to
plane
suddenly
right
do
now.
something that I've never let you do, and now I
Exactly.
need you.
You
to
need
do
to
it.
cut off, and she's
And
like,
the,
I
the
never,
scary
you know.
thing as a
I do
kid
now, I
of
have
seeing
goosebumps.
your parents like losing their cool when
That's
your
what I'm
parents
talking about.
don't know what's going on
That's
anymore.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's suddenly the switch flips, and the kids are like, "Mom is not
Yeah, it's when
being mean; she's panicking."
it's when the flight attendant looks scared.
Oh God!
And you're like,
you just
oh,
described
shit.
my greatest fear,
Yeah.
which is I will look at a flight attendant one day and be like, "Oh, I can't read this woman's
all the
face
turbulence in the world.
Right.
I always check the flight
They're
attendant.
always just like, "Yeah, whatever,
and then I'm like,
same
oh, we're
shit,
fine.
different day."
But when a flight
Right.
attendant like runs down the aisle, I'm like, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
It's
You
done.
literally just described a nightmare I have. Anyway, very afraid of flying.
Also-
Maybe that's
So-
also why the plane thing.
So
gets
let
so
me.
good.
This
Should've
is
done in July.
vaguely related and also not related.
Yeah.
So last year I went to Japan for the first time,
Humble
Okay,
brag.
cool.
Congratulations.
and thank you. It was
Who'd you go with?
my friend Zach.
Oh,
who's
I was-
like,
He was hoping you'd say your wife so he could
No,
say
no,
humble
no.
brag.
oh, humble brag. Humble brag. I went with Zach. It was great. Japan's crazy. And we did not help ourselves by in the middle of our trip in a place called Hakone, which is kind of
Sure.
between Kyoto and Tokyo, which is where Fuji is, and it's very much like the Aspen of Japan. Like it's all like saunas and ryokens with like spas and
Sounds
stuff like
pretty
that.
nice.
It's lovely. So we were like, I have an idea. Let's eat so many mushrooms
Oh, sure.
and go to this open air museum in Hakone, which is like an insane place that's on another planet. So we ate these mushrooms and we were like, we don't have time to go open air museum. We're going to go to this botanical garden instead. And then, of course, once we had done the botanical garden, we were like, okay, we have time. We're going to go to the open air museum. And we walked to the open air museum in what was a not on earth location, like down a road that didn't have markings on it. All the lettering was in Japanese, if there was any. And we were in the mountains. So there was nothing while we were tripping our balls off to ground us to the fact that we were on the planet. Like, and I was having a very hard time. Because it wasn't like, oh, well, there's a school bus.
You're
Right.
describing another nightmare, honestly. That
I-
sounds
there,
crazy.
There was
You didn't have
nothing
any
that was like,
anchors.
there was no anchors to
Right.
reality. There wasn't like, well, there's a sandwich, so I know what that is.
Should've
I
had
was
a
just
sandwich.
on another
That's like-
planet.
you just need a sandwich in your pocket so you can just take it away.
Zach, I know. Zach was becoming totally unhinged. Like we were losing it. And we were walking down this crazy path down the side of the mountain. And anytime a car went by, it was like a crazy, weird cartoon car. Like we were losing our minds. And then we were like kind of rounding the corner to where the open air museum. And there was this little ramshackle hut called the Woody Cafe. And we were
You
like,
sent me pictures from there.
I know, right? And so I was like, well, I was like, I don't know what that is, but it's like at least a building. And I know what that is. So we like headed towards the Woody Cafe. I have pictures of it. I can show you. And it was just this little hut. And as we got closer, we were like, oh, I guess it's like a little cafe, like a restaurant. Like
Sure.
you can get tea or a sandwich or whatever. And then as we got closer, realized like, oh, this is a full on Toy Story themed restaurant in the middle of a fucking mountain in Japan.
I'm booking my flight.
And so I went from like, I don't even know what direction up is to like, all my best friends are here.
Your favorite deputy.
And I've never been more comforted in my life.
Right.
That like my friends from the Toy Story universe were there holding an ice cream cone. I've never felt safer.
You had a friend in them.
I had so many friends in them.
Yeah.
And that's what they were playing. They were just pumping Randy Newman out of this restaurant.
Jesus Christ.
And you could get like a hamburger or an ice cream, but then also
love it.
crazy Japanese food. It was
Sure,
so weird.
sure.
And
But
it was
you could get a sandwich so you could ground yourself back in reality.
Ham sandwich.
But there is nothing
and
more
cheese, okay.
when you're in a world of the unfamiliar.
Yes.
Like nothing is more comforting than turning a corner and seeing all the toys from Toy Story holding
Wow.
food.
Well, that's why, like,
It was the absolute.
I mean,
best
I watch Pixar movies when I'm having panic
thing.
attacks.
Of course, it's
Right.
the most comforting thing. Sorry, that was a side story, but
Good story.
vaguely relevant.
Good story. So the plane crashes. Mom has to make this last second decision. Mom.
Yeah,
Helen has to make
become
this.
a parachute.
Right. Realizing that she's asking more of Violet than Violet is capable of. And she didn't even want to bring them in the first place. She realizes they're roped into this whole thing. But then they find the suits. They realize the suits were made for them.
Right.
Violet realizes she can finally go full invisible. Crash in the middle of the water. And when they're both like freaking out, and Helen is like, we do not have time for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then the cave scene where she's like, these people will want to murder you because they are evil.
You sent me the photo.
Sorry.
You sent it to me when it happened. The Woody Cafe. It looks amazing.
Here, you gotta check it out.
We'll post it online.
Run, don't walk to the Woody Cafe.
But that whole thing where she's like, these
Oh
are
my God.
not like the characters. It looks amazing, right?
If you zoom in, you can see all the characters. Like Buzz is holding a big ice cream cone.
like
and-
actual action figures of them.
Yeah.
Yep, there they are. Woody appears to be in front of a
Well, those aren't
burger.
actual. I mean, those are the real Buzz, Woody.
Yeah.
Those are the stars
I mean, that's
themselves.
the genius of Toy Story.
The
Right.
dog.
Right. Anyone can own the cast.
Yeah.
What the heck is
Yeah.
the name of the dog?
Slinky Dog. What
Slinky
the fuck
Dog.
you talking
It's just
about?
called Slinky Dog. I
Slink.
couldn't remember if it had
Slink.
like a human name.
Slink.
Slink. You turd.
Yeah. David's
Varney.
a real big turd.
All right. So, yes, the plane crashes. It's very serious. She turns into a parachute.
And then turns into a boat.
And then a boat.
Right, a speedboat with Dash like kicking his legs. Brad Bird says the one moment he regrets in this film, like the one thing he watches and like I wish I had done this at the time, is when they've landed back on the beach and Mrs. Incredible like compliments Dash. He was like, "You did a good job there. You know, thank you so much for that." He says he wishes he had one shot of Violet looking back at them
Yeah.
and feeling the guilt over the fact that she couldn't
had
rise to
fucked
the
up.
occasion.
Right.
Yeah.
The arc still works. But then this speech in the cave, which I think is
the speech in the cave.
it's
takes
the best
care of
written
that.
thing in the whole movie.
It is.
Where-
it's also again unusual, like
Right.
for a movie like this.
Right. Like to just state directly, like, these are not the Saturday morning cartoons you grew up with. These people do not care that you're children. They will kill you if they
Right.
get the chance.
Yeah.
It's super
They have
weird.
guns.
Super weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
And then the movie's just like an incredible Bond movie, like / superhero movie that rules.
But it's also like, I mean, like the Mrs. Incredible, like
Elastigirl. She's not
Elastigirl.
Mrs. Incredible.
I'm sorry. Elastigirl. The Elastigirl Helen.
But isn't that the question?
Well, she never uses that name.
I also always call Violet Incredible, even though that's not technically her name.
I guess she's just Violet Parr. Will
Right.
they have like names?
No, I hope
In
it's just
two?
Violet Incredible.
Violet. I mean, he's Dash. Dash is obviously. That works, right.
Yeah. The scene where she's trying to break in and she's stretching through all the different
It's so
closing
good.
doors is like fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark level, just like
Yeah, it's so great.
beautifully constructed,
So
like
good.
story beat action sequence.
Like the way her little hand, her regular size hand, like sort of feels
Feels
around for a
around and
second
then-
and
yeah.
finds his jaw. Ugh.
Which is another big thing about this movie.
Again, though, that's
Yeah.
the comic timing thing too. Of just like
But this movie is like almost 2 hours, and the longest
it is.
Pixar movie prior to this had been like an hour 35.
Right. The
Boundin.
Pixar movies were always 90
Boundin was
minutes.
the longest
Yeah,
one.
Boundin.
Right, they were always 90 minutes because they were really expensive.
Once you get
to
those
do.
deleted scenes back in Boundin,
Yeah.
yeah.
4 hours.
Like, I think the thing that really pushes this movie over the edge is like the time it takes for like those comedic beats, things like the shot of Mr. Incredible wincing before he has to catch the train at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, like all these little moments that just like continually ground you back in the characters and what they're going through. Yeah, and then this just becomes like fucking like textbook, like film school in a box action filmmaking, where it's like, here's how you set up stakes, here's how you like establish an environment, know the rules. The movie's also so smart about like each of them having one power. So you know exactly what they can do and what they can't do. Because he said, like, earlier draft, Mr. Incredible had, like, laser eyes, and he had, like...
Oh, sure, he was...
They all flew.
No, I mean, he wants every power to reflect their, like, psyche in some way, right? Like,
and also, they're not going to really be able to tackle this threat until they're all together, and they can synthesize, they can harmonize.
Teamwork factor.
Which rules when he's running around and creates the dust.
I always have, you know... This was unrelated, but this is my problem with the last Spider-Man movie, is that... Like, I like the limitation of having one power forces you to use your imagination of what that power can do.
Giving him the Iron Man
suit. I think X-Men is the absolute best example of that.
Yeah.
But then, you just made him Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I love the, like, what you get to see, like, okay, Elastigirl can do these things, and then you get to see the full range of what she can do with that ability. Right. I prefer those so much to just the superheroes that can just kind of do anything.
Agreed.
One power at a time. But that's what bothered me about Homecoming, and nobody seems to agree with me.
No, that's a point I fully agree with.
I think I agree with that too. I just assume that it will be done away with soon enough.
His next suit's going to be more high tech.
Yeah, but it's going to be done away with soon enough.
mean,
I'm pretty sure.
We're getting at least 2 consecutive movies where he's got some Tony Stark suit.
Yeah, but Sony is not going to stand for that forever, if that makes sense.
Well,
we got Infinity War coming up. That'll obviously...
We got Venom. I mean, that's going to change the entire cinematic landscape.
Yeah.
What if Venom is movie?
I think they again, like Shrek, shipped out the thing that was interesting about having a superpower that is specific and limited, and then seeing the unlimited power of that.
And also, there's already a learning curve to Spider-Man figuring out how his own powers work. You don't need also the learning curve of like his new iOS.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's what I don't like about Homecoming. Too much of it's about like, how do I work the bullshit on the suit?
Right. It's how do I work this other superpower instead of harness and develop my own.
Also, Iron Man already exists.
I know.
Also, high school sucks.
High school fucking sucks.
High school does suck.
There's so many Spider-Man movies.
Oh, I thought you were going to say high school is cool.
High school rules. Love high school. What a great time.
Yeah, that's why Griffin and I escaped to our socialist Jewish rich kid summer camp.
I didn't have a fucking socialist Jewish rich
kid
summer
camp. Not many people do.
We're
very, very lucky.
We're very lucky.
We're aware of our privilege.
Yeah.
So
where did you?
I didn't say anything. You're bringing this up.
But
you're bringing it up.
I mean, wait, but
why didn't you just go to an American summer camp? Why weren't you? You were in America.
I was not. I grew up in England. And
oh my God.
My mother actually, if you want to hear real, because you brought this shit up, so I'm not going to talk about it, you motherfucker.
Because I grew up in a different country and I still went to camp.
Really? Where'd you grow up?
Canada.
Oh, cool.
Humble brag.
Great place.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to talk about this. My mother was like, well, you should go to summer camp.
We should talk about the Incredibles.
No. He brought it up. I get so mad when they make fun of me for talking about England.
This podcast is so long.
Yep. It is actually insanely long. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's the Incredibles. Who cares?
Okay.
But my mom was like, well, you should go to summer camp because even though we're raising you in this country, you're American and Americans go to summer camp. And she was going to send me to a summer camp. And in Britain, summer camp is basically like military school.
Right.
Because like no one goes. So it's like if you're sending your kid there, it's because your kid is like, you're just like, I can't look at this child. And I almost got sent to what probably would have been like the worst month of my life.
I imagine.
Yeah, and
I finally
for
prevailed
our camp,
upon
it was
her.
like we've got money and a weird kid.
Do something
Send
with
them
them.
to Bucks Rock,
Do
where
something.
they'll learn how to weave and make batiks.
Right. It's like Bucks Rock is like Professor Xavier's school, but for kids who are good at making pottery.
Right. Rather than mutants, you're just like a little creative.
Take care of them.
Right.
I imagine British summer camps looking like the boat that briefly saves them in Dunkirk. Where it's just a lot of kids crammed into a space huddled,
and it's
toasting
just like
bread.
no, not even toasted. It's just we put jam on a slice of bread. There's your lunch. And this may sink.
I imagine it as like the Kingsmen, so I have a little bit of a higher
No.
I have higher expectations.
Does British summer camp take place at sea?
Good.
Yeah. We're sending you to Summerboat.
That sounds fun. I like boats.
I'm going to pitch Summerboat to fucking DreamWorks. Are you kidding me?
I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in this that we wanted to? Because the end of the movie is the end of the movie. Is there anything before the direct ending?
I'm going to bring up a really specific thing that I always find very funny in this movie. That isn't a joke.
Because this movie's loaded with those little details.
Because the character designs in this movie are so extreme in terms of them having like really big heads and really small limbs.
Right.
So like Mr. Incredible has these like tiny hands and like
but also
little baby
true
feet.
to the design of superheroes.
No, for sure.
100%.
I mean, it's so great.
Right,
Yeah.
but they just like
they don't make an effort to make them look like
more.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Violet is like so skinny.
She is.
Like she's like a couple toothpicks with this big cartoon head and these big cartoon eyes.
Big eyes.
Right. So when Helen hands her like superhero mask, her mask is like 7 times the size of her hands. There are 2 shots of her holding it in her hands.
That is, yes.
In which it literally looks like if I tried to hold a surfboard.
There's big eyes.
There's the one where she puts it on her face and it's literally like lifting a surfboard onto her face, which I love. But that moment where like they step outside of the fire and she's like, but Mom, I seriously can't do this. And she's like, when the moment comes, you'll know what to do. Right. And Violet has that like slow, like raise the mask to her face and learn to like improve her posture. And the mom pushes the hair behind her ear.
Yeah.
But then when she does the force field, that's amazing. It's a great moment of empowerment that makes me happy.
And then the hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel thing rules.
That's the great X-Men thing where it's like, how do the powers start to like combine? How do they harmonize?
Dash is like pure childish joy, being able to run on water, like learning you could do things that you didn't think you could do.
Keep testing the limits. The threat keeps on becoming more and more extreme.
It all just revs my engine.
It's just it's perfect. It's the fucking business. It's the best.
And then at the end, then they go back to Munisburg, and Frozen's got to find his super suit. That's a couple minutes.
Can I just a side thing that one of my favorite parts in that movie, and I think one of the most beautifully animated moments of that movie, and I don't know why I think this, is when Mr. Incredible comes home and slams the door of his car, and it's the second time, and that kid on the tricycle sitting in the driveway. And he goes, what are you looking, or what are you waiting for, or something? And he goes, something amazing, I guess.
Something amazing.
And his eyes like do this puppy dog thing. I don't know why I am so obsessed with the way that they captured that facial expression on that kid. I love that moment so much.
But I also think it's the same thing as like Dash and Violet, where it's like they could be very arch stock type kid characters. Like here's the hyperactive kid and here's the like introverted, like awkward girl.
They're so nuanced.
And the performances on the animation, let alone like the vocal performances, are so precise.
The part where Dash runs and he's running on water and he realizes he's running on water and he has that little laugh, that little like so great.
But that's where like the runtime comes in, because I think Brad Bird just fought for like this movie needs to be 20 minutes longer than other Pixar movies, because all those little moments which are going to add up are what's going to differentiate us from other types of superhero stuff.
What was the Pixar movie right after The Incredibles?
Cars. 2 years later.
Wow.
I mean, or more like 18 months later. This is a November movie, and that's
there's a dip. And I
Cars
remember
made me want to kill all of my friends.
But I remember
they didn't have to see it.
Right after Cars, you and I were both like trying to apologize for it more. I remember us having defensive conversations about Cars that then when Ratatouille came out, we were like, okay, we can get off the Cars thing a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I'm not unconditional about Ratatouille either, but I
love Ratatouille.
It's okay. It's okay for us to differ.
Oh no, we can differ.
Things.
I don't care.
You don't like marionetting human beings through locks of hair?
No, I think visually Ratatouille is stunning.
Yeah.
I also, growing up in France, was very drawn. That's my humble brag.
We need some sound.
Yeah, we need like an accordion.
Very, very drawn to that imagery, and the lighting in that movie is incredible, and the copper and the metallic stuff. I think that it was like another one for me that I just didn't have the allegorical connection.
See, I think the theme is cleaner in that one.
Than what?
Than Incredibles.
Well, I will say this: I have to see it again.
You should watch it again.
But I also, I think I'm just I'm also losing my headphones a little bit here, but I don't seem to have a screaming problem.
Wow, maybe
Griffin does. I think I really, really like the allegorical stuff.
Sure.
And or the inside the world of stuff.
Right, which Brad Bird is less interested in.
Well, wait, and in what?
In both Ratatouille and Incredibles, he's got other things
but
on
the
his mind.
Incredibles to me is different because that's a world of thing and a universe building thing.
Yeah.
But like, and I like the Monsters Inc. and Inside Out and the mechanics of a world.
Ratatouille is putting a weird thing in an otherwise normal world.
Exactly.
Okay.
I liked the France part of it.
Sure.
But it is also not my favorite Pixar movie. Cars, oh my God.
And you haven't seen 2 or 3.
I can't. I can't.
I defend Cars 1 a little because
the rule breaking in Cars makes me absolutely insane.
I mean, you know my joke.
What is your joke?
Which one of your jokes are we talking
about? The one.
about?
I've only made one joke ever.
We gotta finish talking about this movie.
All right, let's talk about it.
Cars 2 is so bad it makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
That joke got
that
a
is
runway.
The nerdiest thing and the gayest thing I've ever heard.
Griffin put out the red carpet for that
my
joke.
famous joke.
My famous Cars joke.
Everyone knows my famous joke about Cars 2. Here it comes.
I got 7 faves on Twitter. We know this joke. Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
There was a walk to that joke.
Yeah. I took a stroll. It was a leisurely stroll.
I feel like it would be like Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like look like actual cars. Like functional, actual, cool cars.
Right.
Here's my problem with Cars, nutshell. Are we like...
This is our Inception episode. This is the one where we keep on going deeper.
So the cars are the characters, but also the cars watch the characters, but also the cars are bugs?
Correct.
Who's driving the cars?
Nobody.
Well,
the big man upstairs, G.O.D.
And then are the RVs are the ones that are going to watch the cars race.
Yeah, man. But they also all do it in human structures.
The only
like
thing
stadiums,
I liked about Cars, I know. Yeah. The only thing I liked about Cars was that the bugs flying around the fire were VW bugs. Everything else about it,
I think Cars is fucking weird.
You guys
it's so weird.
You guys are gonna kill me, but I have to bring this up.
Is it another one of your great jokes?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell
your word salad
the
joke.
The second best joke of all time. No, Cars 2.
I think it just got appendicitis while I was sitting here. It just got a horrible appendicitis-esque pain.
The plot of Cars 2 is about trying to come up with a more eco-friendly fuel source. There's a scene in which they explain where gasoline comes from, that it's fossil fuel, and they show that it comes from the bones of dinosaurs.
Okay.
But they're not dinosaur cars, they're actual dinosaurs.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
isn't Cars set within the same
it's
world
totally
and everyone's dead?
That's the theory.
Yeah, the Cars is set in the far future. We turned into cars at some point.
But whenever anyone...
That movie I want to see.
Whenever anyone asks John Lasseter in an interview, he goes, we don't like to talk about those things.
Yeah, we don't
he's
either.
We also don't like to watch them.
Yeah, there's this...
But I will say this. It was the movie that John Lasseter really wanted to make.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think John Lasseter gets to do whatever he wants. At that point. Because
he can certainly touch whoever he wants.
I mean, I can't even get into that.
I can't get into it.
But his story at Disney and his sort of history with Disney and then coming back and creating Pixar, like at that point, he's like, if you want to make your dumb car movie, go ahead.
3 was pushing
So
it.
the end of The Incredibles, in which they fight the Omni Droid. I don't even know if there's much as Frozen. Yeah, well, where's his super suit?
Right.
To be fair, where is his super suit?
To be fair, that is the central
also,
question of this
did we
movie.
just discuss the just full fact that his superpower is speed skating?
Yeah.
Okay.
And his uniform reflects it.
In itself is the funniest thing in the entire world.
And I love
super
the
gay.
business of the
Super
skates
gay.
the skates popping out of his boots, and then the skates or the skis rather turning into the disc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
A little surfboard.
It's a little snowboard.
Snowboard. Right. But it's like circular.
Yeah, I love Frozone. I love that he's in this movie because
you will not stop talking about Frozen.
Yeah.
Somebody's sorry that I'm bringing up a character in The Incredibles.
Someone's got a crush on Frozen.
I mean, no
David's
question.
Google history is just Frozone hentai.
Frozone naked? Question mark?
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say I like Frozone.
Bisexual?
Frozone college phase? No, it's just he doesn't like contribute a ton in the final battle. No. He's like, I'll build a snowball.
Yeah.
Like that's his whole story.
He's yelling out like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Okay, Frozen, we got it.
Where he's like, I'm stalling them. And I'm like, I don't think he's even really stalling anything.
No.
He's just
Well,
kind
it's
of.
about the family coming
It's about
together.
the
That's
family,
true.
and sometimes friends are family.
I just hope Frozone like gets to do some shit in Incredibles too.
like date you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, on this episode, Blank Check is partnering with the Starkey Hearing Foundation, which is a human services charity that provides hearing aids and hearing-related health care to hearing-impaired people in poor communities around the world. About 5% of the world's population, that's like 432 million adults and 34 million children, have disabling hearing loss with the greatest prevalence in low and middle income populations. And so the Starkey Hearing Foundation provides hearing aids and hearing-related health care to millions of patients in over 100 countries, empowering them to achieve their full potential. They're a public charity. The donations to them are tax-deductible to the fullest extent allowable by the law. They're rated 4 stars by Charity Navigator, which is the highest score you can get. This month, Starkey Hearing Foundation and Audio Boom are launching the Listen In campaign, and they're asking Blank Check and our listeners to help them reach their $25,000 fundraising goal. So funds raised from Listen In are going to support the next round of global outreach, and you can help them by donating to the Listen In campaign today, just trying to get to $25,000. To give the gift of hearing, go to listenincampaign.org. That's listenincampaign.org to give the gift of hearing today. No, there's two other things we need to mention. One, the babysitter who wishes that Mozart had been played for her. She's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love her braces. And Jack,
Attack.
yeah, whatever.
The
He
short
does his
film.
thing.
Right.
Syndrome dies in absolutely horrible fashion, as we mentioned.
Yeah,
but
pretty brutal.
And then the Underminer, who's all Incredibles too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
He's
he was just a tag on one.
No, he's in
it. He's
Oh,
in
yeah.
two. He's in the trailer.
2 opens with that fight.
Oh, interesting.
I
They're
am the
doing it as a full
Underminer.
I do like Mirage's turn.
Yeah, me too.
I think she's got
that's a
so
good-
much more of an arc than
And
any other
very
movie
tropey,
would give her.
Very,
It's
very Bond tropey.
but once
It's
again,
a good syndrome thing, though,
it
where
is the
I'll
fact-
crush him, like, you know,
right, that's
like
great.
snapping a twig.
But also,
Yeah.
it's like she realizes that her morality is more in line with Mr. Incredibles than Syndrome's when it gets to the kid thing. You also have to think at the moment when he doesn't call the missiles off on the plane,
Yeah.
he doesn't even know the kids are superheroes. Like he thinks
no,
cut and
that's
dry,
why
I'm
that
murdering.
scene is so
children.
fucking cold-blooded
Right.
and
So
so
cold-blooded.
good and makes me cry.
Right.
But yeah, let's play the box office game.
Okay.
I don't know, unless there's some other...
Is that the segment you were queuing up, Ben?
Is there
Yeah.
another segment I do?
Okay. So I tried to guess the box office of the weekend
Oh,
the movie
man,
came
this
out.
movie opened huge.
Huge.
Jeez.
Because it was a big deal that every Pixar movie had out-opened the previous
and
one.
they started promoting it like 2 years before it
They
came
did.
out. I remember seeing that little teaser like
Was that-
really early.
Was that teaser in front of Nemo, or was it in front of
It was in
even,
front of Nemo,
it
which
was
is
in
like a
front
year
of
and a half
Snow
early.
White.
Right. Yeah, that's
It
where
was fucking early.
People were
They were
like-
like, we don't know what this is, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah, they were like, superheroes? That's like real fresh. I
Yeah.
don't know.
The first teaser for The
What just made
Incredibles,
you
I
giggle?
don't know. I'm not going to say it. At this point, it's too sweaty. It was going to take a real long walk to get
Great.
there.
All right, forget it. You-
First teaser for The Incredibles is Brad Bird's sonogram. That's okay, fine. Fuck me.
Wow.
Sweaty. I said it was sweaty.
Sweaty? That thing has like
Said it was
fucking malaria. That thing is sweating all of its body weight off.
But it's big and it's wet, so Ben.
Yeah, Ben probably loves it.
Not that big.
No.
That was
right.
a big idea.
Number one,
true.
it opened November 5th, 2004.
Great,
It
great.
was number
day.
one at the box office. It was a good day. That was a good day.
That's one of your top 5 days.
Oh my god.
I
November
was,
5th, 2004. August 3rd, 2009.
which is that?
Just a great
It's
day.
great.
Oh, just a good day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ice
I
Cube's
had-
Good Day.
I had a weekend in 2001 that kind of blended together that I loved.
Okay, so you count that as one day rather than counting each of the
'Cause I didn't
separate.
sleep.
Okay. So then, yeah. It's only a new day when you go to sleep.
Incredibles. I remember I saw this at a press screening. I reviewed it for my college newspaper.
Wow.
In Newcastle. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just pick Becky's jaw up off the floor.
$70 million, Griffin.
Huge.
Tell me what number 2 was.
Number 2.
In
It was-
2004?
In 2004. It's been out for a week.
So it's been an October picture.
And it will be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Doesn't win.
No.
Does it?
Does win another Oscar.
2004.
A performance Oscar.
Mhm.
Is it Ray?
It's Ray.
Ray.
Wow,
Taylor
you're
Hackford
a
film.
loser.
That's
Yeah,
why we
he's a
play this game.
Fucking loser.
Because I'm
You
a
were also
loser.
9 in
Yeah,
2000.
I was 9.5.
2004 was when I taught you in 0305.
Right. Yeah.
So you were 14
I was
in
15.
2004.
Free information. I was
What a
15.
Did you see
dork.
Ray?
Yeah, I saw Ray. It's a bad movie.
Yeah, not so good.
Yeah, not too good.
No,
No.
big problem.
I haven't seen it since then.
I haven't either. I have no desire to ever
There
watch
is
it
that
ever
good
again.
Mulaney
He's
joke about him seeing
amazing,
it on
and
a
it
date.
is terrible.
Yeah,
Right,
It's
right.
such a bad movie. Yeah.
Where his date said, I could have done without the whole brother dying part. He's like, well,
So
so
funny.
could have Ray Charles.
If you ever want to do a podcast about the Quavenzine Wallace revival of Annie,
Yeah.
I have done a 3.5-hour show about it. So I have
Now
a
we
lot of
have to do it.
expertise
Is
about
that a
It
Will
was
Gluck picture?
Jamie, yeah, it was a Jamie Foxx connective tissue moment.
Of course.
Number
I can't believe how boring this
It was a
is.
horror movie. People love this shit.
The Grudge.
Yes, The Grudge.
What's wrong with
I
you?
rember.
What is the noise?
I don't
it
understand
goes like,
how you're so successful now.
Remember the,
You're
great
so
question.
annoying.
Great question.
I can't believe someone was like, let's give this guy a major TV
Money.
job. I mean, I remember when you got hired for the Tick, and I was like, what?
You're like, really?
They have to talk. Do they know they have to talk to him all the time?
He's got to like show up places?
Yeah. They're going to have to talk to him. And he's going to have to talk to other people.
And he'll keep talking.
And
I
it's
promise you that.
It'll be the premise of the show that he has conversations with people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Number 4, another
They're trying to
horror
buy
movie.
me out.
So if
Yeah.
The Grudge is the sort of the tail end of one wave of a genre in Hollywood.
Saw. It's the first Saw.
Yeah, exactly. The beginning of another.
I don't even need clues for this. I remember this time period very vividly.
Great. Then tell me number 5.
Well, now I
I guess I will say you were like in the prime of your
dorkiness.
knowing what the hell's
Yeah.
going on
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
This
when
is
you
all
were
he's got.
15.
He's not
I
getting
know.
laid. This
Yeah.
is it.
Oh,
Box
yeah.
office
Oh.
charts.
Were
I-
you dating anyone at camp ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
When?
When?
Or after
Frozen?
I was
2003, I dated a girl who Colin Beckett called Lady Griff,
gone? I remember that.
which probably is.
But that was when he was dating
Wow,
Central
shout out
Silver.
Colin Beckett.
Yes. Yes.
Do you know Colin Beckett?
I do. Yes. That's a conversation we can have off mic.
Colin Beckett was literally my best friend when he was 17 and I was 23.
the funniest person who's ever lived?
We have to talk about it,
Yeah.
but not on mic.
Okay.
Number 5. It's a new movie. It is a movie that doesn't exist.
It's a movie that doesn't exist. What genre? Oh, it's a tricky one.
Romantic comedy /
Wait,
drama.
is this 2004 still we're
Yeah,
talking
4.
about?
November
The
5th.
number 5 movie of 2004, romantic
Oh,
of
comedy.
this
drama.
weekend.
I know exactly what it is.
Number 5 of this
I
weekend.
know exactly what it is
Mhm.
because I remember this is how insane my memory is.
Would
for
you
this
agree
show.
that this movie doesn't exist?
I agree,
Yes.
and what's even crazier is I saw it twice in theaters
Wow.
because my grandpa wanted to see it.
Okay, fair enough.
Keep in the faith.
Did he like it? No, that's a good movie.
He didn't. I had overhyped it to him. I saw it the first time. I
Oh my
loved
God,
it.
what movie was it?
It's Alfie.
It is the Jude Law remake of Alfie,
Yeah.
in which he betrays Omar Epps.
Yes.
So
among
why
other
why
things.
do you say it doesn't exist?
Who the fuck
nobody
remembers that movie?
Because
Yeah,
you,
okay.
your response, you forgot that was a thing.
It's
It's not
disappeared.
even a movie. Like,
there
if
was
you
like a
saw it
whole
on
period
HBO.
of Jude Law
Right.
movies.
This
that are
was
like,
This
that
is
quarter.
his year.
like
Right.
Closer and
Right. This
Right.
was Closer, Sky Captain, The Aviator,
Sky
Alfie.
Captain.
Yeah,
There were
and Cold
6
Mountain had
Jude
been
Law-
the year before,
Right.
Or
Ben
maybe
is-
it's this year. Ben has just committed ritual
Violently
suicide.
tapping his watch.
humble brag. Brad Ben has a watch.
So Alfie is the number 5 movie.
I mean, that's Sky Cap. Lemony Snicket.
Lemony
He's in that.
Snicket. Those are the
Okay.
6. Yeah.
And yeah, Cold Mountain the year
Oh,
before.
and I Heart Huckabees. That's
Oh,
the other
yeah,
one. He had
that's right.
6 films in 4 months.
And never again.
Never again.
Huckabees
Well, he
is
was
a
in Spy.
crazy movie.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that.
Oh,
being
yeah.
Also Lily
popular.
Tomlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Lily
much do you
Tomlin.
think Alfie grossed total domestically?
Me out. Woo!
12?
It grossed. Wow, you're close. $13 million.
God, it's so unimportant to know this. God, I hope the Tick goes on forever for you. I really do. Because there's nothing else for you to do in the world.
It's like a charitable act. That
What?
they're like, give him something to do.
No, it's great.
Give him a
I'm-
place to show up and things to
I
learn.
love that my campers are wildly more successful than I am. It's
Not
my
true.
favorite
Not
thing.
true. Not true. You saved high maintenance.
Oh, please. I did not. I mean,
You're the
it's great.
Pixar of people.
I'm the Pixar of humans.
Becky, thank you so much for being on the show.
I had a blast, and I also got to not do another thing today that I didn't want to do.
Happy to be of help in that way.
Yeah, my pleasure. Do people listen to this podcast?
A weird amount of people.
How many people listen
Talk
to this
about
podcast?
like success that doesn't make sense, success that does not make sense. People really like this show.
It's super nerdy.
It's super nerdy.
I would watch it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, good to know. So if it's on TV, you'd watch
I
us.
would listen to it, but I'm the worst at podcasts, so
Hey, not true. You're the Pixar of podcast.
you have to stop.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you so much for being here.
It was
Anything you
my
want to
pleasure.
plug? People should watch all Becky Drysdale shows on Hulu.
I know.
The
Well,
Becky Drysdale collection.
please watch the multiple shows that I'm developing that are too expensive to make, and no one will.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my legacy.
Every Becky pilot would require $20 million worth
know.
of set construction.
It really would. They all take place in spaceships
Or in the past.
or like in the war or Willow.
They take place in Willow.
They take place in Willow. There's side stories.
It begins with Ron Howard
It's
going
a-
like, and
It's
action.
a workplace comedy in the tavern in Willow. Oh my God, you guys.
All right, we're done.
I'm obsessed.
Right, we're done.
Yes, thank you so much for listening.
Oh, good movie, by the way.
Oh, incredible. Great.
Yeah, great. Yeah, after 3 hours, 4 stars.
Yeah. I think
B plus.
rewatching it. I think this
No,
is
it's amazing.
the best
It's a
superhero
great
film
movie.
ever made.
Mm.
Because I
Hot
think
take.
it's the most
And one of the best
complete thoughts.
comedies.
Yeah,
My other favorite superhero movie probably comes out this year.
Which?
Incredibles
Spider-Man,
2.
Spider-Man 2. No, I mean the
that
2004.
year. Yes.
Yeah,
But I think I prefer this to Spider-Man 2.
It's one of my favorite animated movies. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
comedies. It's one of
Yes.
my favorite superhero
One of the best
movies.
Craig T. Nelson.
One of my
picture.
favorite
True.
family movies.
Yeah.
right up
It's-
there with the
it's
Family
great.
Stone.
And as we said, the single greatest turtleneck movie.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Please remember, rate, review, subscribe. Go to blankiesatreddit.com for some real nerdy shit. If you think this is nerdy, the shit that people talk
this
about
is
on Reddit.
iceberg stuff.
Yeah, this is
I know.
iceberg shit. Thank you to Ange Fergudo for our social media. Thanks to Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Joe Bone and Pat Reynolds for our artwork.
Oh, sure.
And Brad Bird.
Yeah. Next week, tune in for Ratatouille with 2 very special guests.
Great app, in my opinion.
Great, crazy app.
Thank you to ZipRecruiter and WeTransfer for sponsoring the show.
And as always,
Uh-huh.
Cars 2
Oh, God.
makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.